Anyway, thought I'd try it again today. Working on Sheath. Nobody watching, so I'm talking to myself, and that's okay. Alright, let's see here. I gotta cut this out. Let's leave that over that away. I need my ruler. Let's hang this ruler back up. Alright, let's see where we're going here. I'm just off camera a little bit here. I am cutting out the window for the inlay I'm going to do on this sheath. So I'm off camera because I figure you all do not want to see my head poked in there the way it would be. So I'm just going to take a second to cut this inlay window out. And then I'll put it back on camera best I can. This live thing is new to me. Don't really know what I'm doing, but we're trying it. Thought it'd be fun. Something to do in the shop. I work alone, so there is no one in here with me. It's just me, and that's okay. But thought if I could talk a little leather work, or amuse you folks a little bit, or show you what I'm up to, I thought that was okay. So thought we'd just give it a shot here. I'm in the home stretch of this cutout here. Just bear with me. Cutout is very important because if I mess this up, guess what I'll be doing? I'll be doing it again. That's right. Which I really don't want to do it again, so. I am using a ruler for a fair bit of this just because I want a nice uniform line. Curvature I am freehanding, which that's okay. Almost home. I mean, the last part, is anybody even watching this, or am I talking to myself? Oh, I got one human watching it. Or at least one human who's clicked on it. I don't know. I don't know how this works. I can never even tell if you people can hear me. So, you can see the window is showing itself there. A couple different ways to accomplish this. You all might notice I've got this cut in the middle. And what's going to happen is, let me get this window cut out here and I'll try to get back on camera so I can show you guys. That's going to be what I'm using for the inlay that's going to go in this window I'm cutting out. It's a piece of ostrich leg. I think the color is tangerine. I have a bad habit of when I go to order stuff, if something is on sale that I think looks neat or might be useful, that it follows me home. I suspect I'm not the only one. And that's how that down there arrived. All right, so we got our window. So this is now basically scrap. So we'll get rid of that. I'm going to turn my camera a little bit here. I want to try something. Let's... I don't know if I do that, if that makes my life a little easier. I think it might. All right. So this ostrich leg, I got to cut it wider than the window. I want to catch some of this in that window. I'm torn exactly where I'm going to go with this here. Let's see if we do that. Ooh, that's pretty good up there. That's not horrible. I think if I line it up like this and make some marks and cut it, yeah, I'm going to use a lot of this. I don't remember what this thing cost. I probably should know that, but I don't. Any of you all who are watching want to comment if you can hear me. That would be great, because I have no idea if you hear me or not. I hope you do. But as I poke around here and figure this out. All right, let's see here. I think that might be the move, is just cut out around this. Yeah, I think we're going to try that. Let's give that a shot. Y'all want to give that a shot? Let's give it a shot. Let's see. I wonder if this will take a pencil mark. It kind of does. I'm trying to definitely catch this part there more than anything, I guess. Okay. I'm going to go round knife for this one. I use a scalpel a lot of times too. Blades are cheap. When they get dull, I can chuck it, and that's good. Who's watching? Let's see. Yes, I can. How to check how the design's going? Hey, how you doing, Daniel? Good to see you again. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me. The design's going okay. I'm happy with it overall. So, but long way to go before we get to the end result. So, I'm just gonna kind of rough cut this out here. Try not to hit the sheath, of course. This does not have to be super precise at this point. I'm going to end up cutting it down. I want to be inside this window when I'm done. It's going to get stitched around this outside here to hold that in place after I glue it also. So that's important. Okay, I'm glad to know that God loves me. That's great, Julian. Thank you. All right, let's get this out of the way before I booger it up any more than I did. And part of doing this, it's going to allow me to see where those windows sit. And that's what I want to see. I want to see where things shake out, how it looks, just to have a better idea there. I cannot stress how sharp this knife is and how do not get your fingers in front of it. I've done it. It's not a good thing. In fact, it's basically a bad thing. Not basically, it is a bad thing, let's be honest. If you ever feel like you're talking into the void, that's what I feel like I'm doing here at the moment. And that's okay. I do really like the scalpel, though. The scalpel is awful handy at times for making fine, delicate cuts. When I did this, which is going to be what I wrap over the top there, I use the scalpel to do this. I can get some really fine work that way, in my opinion. Trying to keep some stuff out of the way here. Okay, a lot of scrap left. Of course, I'm not going to throw that out. Got to keep that. All right, let's see. I'm going to put the sharp instruments away. Can't stress that enough, folks. Leaving them on the bench, I have a tendency to knock them into myself or on the floor or, say, into my leg. That would be bad. And we definitely don't want that. Oh, look at this. A mistake was made. So this is my bottom inlay piece. You will now notice it's in two pieces. That's because I wasn't paying attention and had it under the ostrich leg. So I'm going to have to cut a new piece of that out. Not a big deal. I may have to grab some leather back down from the top, but that's all right. Actually, let's take a look here. Yeah, that might be the same. I think I'm just going to grab a piece off the top there real quick and recut that out. This is the benefit of having this design that I drew out, because as you can see, there's the bottom piece I need for that overlay, so I can just trace that out again and move forward, which is a good thing. All right. I'm just going to do a little quick. I want to see where this comes to. So I'm going to cut this off down there. So I'm going to use scissors because, you know, scissors. These are leather scissors, by the way. They make those. Any of the leather places you want to get them from, you can order them, I'm sure. Tandy, I know, sells them. So this is where we're leaning here. This is the idea I want. This is what I'm looking at. I want it to taper down into this. And I kind of like it. Let's see, Daniel, what you got? Definitely don't toss that. The color is too great. I was trying to see if you had a shop and ended up finding you on Leather Reports or 10 years back, but still unable to figure out. Oh, yeah. So, Daniel, let's talk about where I sell. This is where I do a terrible job. I am a horrible marketer. I am really bad at selling. I do a lot of word of mouth. Um, I have at times had a website. I currently do not. I may do that again in the future. Um, I am a one man band, one person team in here, so I get frustrated by that stuff. I can sit and design and do this work all day. Tell me to go sit at the computer and take pictures and upload and market, and I want to run away and hide in the woods. So yeah, I don't have a direct shop right now. So, but that is something I do need to address, whether it be Etsy or what I do, but definitely something. Yeah, yeah, and I do like this color. I don't know what it is about it, but I do like it. And there's still some spots in here that could be used for inlays or some detail work. So I always have a bin I keep these in. So that is definitely not getting tossed. What I do toss is things like this. So once I get down to scraps this size, this is the black veg stand. It's Wicked and Craig. It's called skirting leather. It's drum dyed. You can still tool, carve it, etc. This stuff I toss. I used to keep even this stuff, but now into the bin with that. But what I will keep is a piece like this, because I can, if I'm doing some carving or stamping work and I want to try something, a piece this size, I still got some room to play around and do. It would be a great watch band. I got to tell you, watch bands are their own animals. I've done a few of them over the years, and boy, are they tricky. Or they can be tricky, I should say. All right, let's see where I'm going with this. I need to, what do I need to do here? I probably got to cut this down some more on the outside. I don't want this to show when I go to sand this edge, so I don't want it out here like that. So we have to get back within the inside of that. I'm pretty happy the way it sits. Don't think, I might go down just a little more. I think I'm going to take just a little more off this and move down. Alrighty. Let's see what that did for us. Yep, I think that's all right. As I knock my pencil on the floor. Yeah, I think that's all right. I like the effect. I like this, how it pebbles down to here. That's what I was going for. So I just got to cut that down to size now. And how do I want to do that exactly? I think what I will do, I think I'll just make some marks. Let me grab a marker here, see what I can do. Whoo, 3-hole people watch. That's great, folks. Especially for a Monday. I gotta be honest, it's Monday. Normal humans are working jobs. I'm down here in my shop. All right, let's see. Ooh, that might do it. All right, so yeah, I'm not gonna talk with a cap on my mouth. I just took this off, stuck in my mouth. I'm used to doing that because I'm not used to being on camera and talking. All right. So I'm just kind of, I want to give myself some kind of reference here. Just want to make sure I'm in a spot. I can cut that down. I don't want it so small that I'm not going to be able to catch it, because again, I'm going to stitch around this whole thing right here. After I glue, we're going to glue next, actually. I'm tempted to keep that little tiny piece. I am going to keep that little tiny piece. All right, let me make sure I got marks on here that I can see. I can see the one. Yep. Go Jump back to the other side. I don't know how to make this interesting, folks. I guess it's the kind of thing, if you're interested in it, you're interested. If you're not, you're not. I know I've gained a lot of knowledge over the years watching people, videos on YouTube and such, so very important stuff. Okay, so I got some marks. Did you get a chance to see those people who set their glue on fire? Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen it a couple times. I know you mentioned it the other day. I didn't go back and look specifically, but as I thought more about it, I've seen that. I'm trying not to go down that rabbit hole because I will spend too much time trying to figure out if that's just a stunt or if there's actually a reason. There may be a reason for it. I don't know, like type of glue, etc. But it seems like a lot of silliness to me personally. All right, who stole my ruler? There it is. I stole my ruler, for the record. So it's fancy. It says Starrett on it. There you are, machinists out there around machinists. You know that Starrett's a brand that does machining stuff. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take the risk and clip this down some. I just don't want to get it too small. That's the biggest thing. I got to be able to make sure I can stitch it. So it's got to be to the inside of here, which means I need to be about, I don't know if y'all can see that. Let's see here. So give or take, I probably need about 2 inches across. So I love these cutting mats. They're really made for fabric, but you can get them all over the place, including Walmart or the fabric store, things like that. But the nice part is they're graded, so I can kind of line it up where I want to be and find my center point there. Right there is where I think I want my center to be, but I can put the ruler right down it and see if that's what I want. And since I know when I laid it out over there, I laid it out roughly that way, that this would be in the center. So I can do it like that. And yeah, that's pretty good. And I know if I'm about 2 inches, I'm in good shape. So I'm actually going to use this. And I'm going to get out my scalpel. No, I'm not a doctor, nor do I pretend to be one. And we're going to cut this. And everybody say a prayer if you're inclined. All right. The bottom part here, I'm just going to take a guess. It's probably about right. And again, this is following the shape of the sheath. So, all right, so I'm just going to line this up again, make sure I'm happy with it. This is a judgment call, very much so. So it's not a guarantee what I'm doing. But there's my spot. Going to do the same thing. Watch my fingers, because I like my fingers the way they are. All right, so you notice that's a lot smaller now than it was. Yeah, Daniel, I've actually never used barge. I started to go down that rabbit hole and get some, but I've been happy with the weldwood, which is what I've used for a long time now. So I have no concerns. Now, one of the things with inlay, let's talk about that. So how's that look, everybody? That look pretty good? I think that's all right. One of the things with inlay is sometimes I'll put a piece behind it, which I may do that. I may stick this piece I cut out behind it. This is very thin in this case, which I did on purpose. I actually did that with it's actually a shoe machine, but it's a splitter. It's a crank splitter. It's over that away. And I cut that down. But to pop this out a little bit, sometimes I'll put a piece behind it like this, just to give it some more definition, or I'll put something else back there. I may do that in this case. The other thing I will do a lot of times is, I don't think I need to do it on this one. I will skive the edges in here if this is thicker. But since this is so thin, I don't think I need to do that in this case. You know, Daniel, I'm thinking about your glue thing. I think you might be right. It might speed up the process to dry it. barge I know is the same as contact cement. You got to let it dry till it's tacky, I think, or I'm not sure what barge exactly. Weldwood, it's supposed to be tacky or dry all the way. If it's a little tacky, you can still move it. If it's dry all the way, it sticks and sticks fast. So that may be the case. For the most part, I don't find it a big barrier. A lot of times I'll do some other things in the meantime while I'm waiting. So, all right. So now I got to figure out just where I want to be with this. So a lot of thoughts going through it. Like I said, I'm not going to skive this. This is so thin. I don't feel I need to skive it. I do want to give it that little bump up in the back. So I am going to just glue that down in there to where I want to be. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a little bit of margin off of it. So if you look there, it's fit perfectly right now, right? So I'm going to take a little more off each side of this just to prop this up a little bit so it fits a little nicer. And then I'm going to mark where it goes, and I'm going to glue that in place and then this over top of it. So let me work my way through that right now. Okay. A lot of steps to this. Some ways I'm going slow on purpose here, of course. I might be off camera a second while I do this. I gotta just focus in here a second. I'm just doing this by eye. I'm not measuring it. I don't think I need to in this case. There's just, see that little tiny bit I'm taking off there? All right, we're getting close here. Not super critical, but I do want it to look right when I'm done. So I am kind of watching how much I take off. And that looks pretty good. I know you can't see this, so I'm just going to keep talking and babbling. Okay. Just doing the little curve here. Go and get the rest on camera there for you guys to see. All right, so there's my piece that I'm going to put underneath. Kind of a judgment call how you do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw a line on there. I'm going to use a pen in this case because I know it will show up pretty well. So what I'm going to do is just put this down and draw around that so I know where to set this. So here's our top piece. That's pretty good. So I'm just going to go like this. It's tough because that is so thin, it's movable. I do want to make sure I got it pretty uniform. Okay, we got this side, this side. I hope that's marking. Can't tell, to be honest. Yep, I got enough of a mark. I can see what I'm doing there. All right, so that's good. And now I can glue this in place. So I want to just make sure I've got enough of a margin around it. Looks like I do. Yep, I'm happy with that. It may be a little hard to see there, but you can see it, I think. So I got one human watching. I think it's Daniel. #1 fan, I see. Don't know why I do this, Daniel. I got to be honest, but I'm having fun with it. Okay. And I don't know how long I'll stick with this one. This one's a hard one to, there's a lot of small work I got to do. Let's see. I guess I should go to the glue table. Shall we move to the glue table? Let's move to the glue table, people. They're going a little walkabout here. Yep. All right, glue table. And we're going to move this over to the glue table. You know what? Let's come back. Let's take a walk back, folks. We're not going to glue yet. We're going to do one more thing first. Back over to the cutting table. Again, I love to have separate spaces. I think it's very useful to have different spaces for the stuff. This is my thin leather. This is my 2 to 3 ounce leather. I'm just going to cut a little piece off here for that bottom part. Okay. That scrap in. This goes back up top with our leather storage, which you all can't see, but that's all right. All right, up it goes. In we go. Okay. And somewhere I saw a cut on this. Let me make sure I catch that's right there. Okay. Oop, you all can't see what I'm doing. There we go. All right, got my awl. I am just going to mark out where I need to cut this. And again, there's some eyeball in here. This straight line, of course, I could use a ruler if I want to. And the curve, if I have a curve that fits it, I could. Over the years, after a while, you kind of develop a feel for it, so you don't really have to. Ooh, 5 whole people. I'd love to know if you guys have any questions or any thoughts on leatherwork. Happy to discuss here while I'm working. All right, my head's going to be in the way. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's not exciting. All right. That's good. And I'll put this away. Sometimes I'll turn the leather piece as I'm cutting to make my life a little easier. I am going to use my ruler for this side just to make life a little simpler. I can follow it up, but all right. And lastly, I've got this last little curvy bit here. I have no idea if I'm on camera or not right now. Okay. So this last little bit here. There we go. All right, let's see. We got comments here. I'm looking for people to learn from. I prefer to watch this part of the process. The short sewing the file probably is cool, but yeah, I agree, Daniel. Part of why I started doing the YouTube thing, which in case you all can't figure out, I am not a professional anything when it comes to YouTubing. I'm not pretending to be. I'm not trying to be. I just wanted to draw some attention to both what I do and the work I do. But if I'm being honest, at the end of the day, I like to show the process. I like to teach. I like to show people how to do things. And I enjoy it, frankly. And I learn from it, too. But yeah, I think that is neat with this, is you can see the whole process. That said, I'm still very much learning how do I keep it on camera? Where do I have to be? Like, you know, maybe this needs to go up in the air more. I don't know. So it's a learning curve. So I'm glad you're kicking around and sticking around. At least I know there's one person getting something out of it, which is nice. So, but again, happy for anybody watching. If you have any leatherwork questions, even if it's not pertaining to sheaths, so much of this is applicable to any kind of leatherwork. There's just techniques and things you do that apply to all of it. So, all right. So there's our overlays. That's our welts. I'm going to move over to the glue table and keep working my way through the part I'm doing right now, which is getting that inlay glued in and figuring out what I need to do with that. So let's take a little walkabout here. Alrighty. Maybe we'll turn a light on. In the cave over here. Gotta walk around the bench, I do. You all can't see that, but I can. And I'm gonna get my nice comfy chair. Because sitting is good. Okay. Let me get my camera fixed up here for you all. Don't mind my arm. Okay. Get rid of that. There's our pieces. All right, let's see here. I should definitely post for a viewer. You know, it's interesting, Dan. I appreciate that. I've been on Reddit's Leatherwork page. I've never posted there. As you noted years ago, I posted on the Leatherwork forums, and once in a while still do. Actually learned a ton from there. I've picked up some things from Reddit too, just from reading, but I've never logged in or posted there. But yeah, it's probably smart. I think there is definitely, not only is there a learning curve to leather work, there's a learning curve about how you sell your stuff. Um, I will probably bore the three of you that are listening to tears now, but I'm going to do it anyway. There is a lot of things going on when you go to sell. I run mine as a small business. I treat it that way, including insurance and all that stuff, bookkeeping, taxes, all that stuff. A lot of people, though, run it as a hobby. That's not a judgment, it's just a reality. So they have different methodologies. So if you're running it as a hobby and you're selling stuff here or there, you're selling to your friends, you're trying to make enough money to buy the next piece of leather or the next belt you need for making a knife or whatever it is. When I run the business side of this, I have to think about not only the next pieces of leather I'm going to buy or the next equipment I need, whatever, but I also have to consider the electric bill, the lights, all that stuff. So that all comes into play. So I get bogged down in that sometimes, I got to be honest. But that's okay. It's okay, I get bogged down in it, I suppose. But they're all things you got to consider. So I think marketing is a major part, too, of anything you go to sell. I also think doing custom work is very hard to generate. I don't know if a living wage is right. I can't say that that's the goal here. The goal is to run this, make money, and maybe in time make it a complete living wage, and that's all I do. That would be wonderful. But who knows? So I'm going to shush now and go back to gluing, because gluing is exciting, right, folks? It would be helpful for them to know you're a leather crafter yourself, not just a forger. That's a very good point, and it's interesting. A lot of folks that make knives do not do leather work. They want no part of it. It is definitely two different skill sets. And to be clear, I don't just forge. In fact, I do more stock removal than forging when I make knives, but I do both. Yeah, it's funny. Actually, I like the leather work. I don't want to say better, but it's really caught a hold of me over the years. And I see myself a lot of times gravitating that way. I will probably always make knives, but I definitely gravitate towards the leather stuff. I find myself reading more about it, watching more, just in general getting onto it. So I think there's a lot to be said for, and I've done a bad job at this too, is getting in front of knife makers that maybe want sheaths made, but finding an appropriate price point that makes sense is tough. What we're doing here, there's a lot to this. So there's a lot for that. Hey, we're down to one. Betting it's Daniel. Daniel, I hope you got some sleep this time. I know last time you said you hadn't. All right, I'm doing the cheat thing, which is fine for this. Remember, this is all going to be stitched together. It's not just the glue holding it in place. So, but just fine. Okay. All right. Got 2 thumbs up, too. Woohoo! All right, I might be off camera doing this. I might not be. I don't know. Sorry if my head's there, folks. All right, there's that. I'm going to grab a hammer. And no, not to beat myself with it. Just to tap this down. This helps set that bond. That's my understanding of it. I think it says it right on the bottle, actually, about tapping it down. I think it even says what it does when you do that, but I might be wrong. I don't know. I just know it's a habit I'm in. It does help to hold it in place. Yep, once surfaces are joined, a minimum of 25 pounds per square inch pressure should be evenly applied to surface starting in the center, working out the edges. This is equivalent to 75 pounds of pressure to a 3-inch J roller. They can be retrieved with bond in the surface. So, yeah, I have a tendency to tap it down. I actually have a J roller over here that I do use. These are actually, I think, for like cabinet work, for putting down the Formica and stuff like that. But that's why I have it, actually. But sometimes I will do that too. Depends on the surface and what I'm doing. Yeah, Daniel, I actually jumped on the live earlier, and I was one. I thought I was boring as sin because I was cutting the leather, and I was didn't have a lot of people on. Not that I have a ton of people on anyway, but I figured let me come back when things make a little more sense. So I decided to cut first and then put the live back on while I'm doing this. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I want to see how this settles out, how it looks, if I'm in the right zone here, which I think I am, where I want to set this. And then again, I'm going to mark my lines on it. So also trying to feel that leather is so thin, it's probably under an ounce. So seeing where this ends up, so to speak. So all of this is, I don't want to say tricky, it's a little finicky, just trying to make sure I get it right. And that's not bad. I like how it looks. It could go, I think, that way a little bit. Just a little bit, maybe. It's going to pretty much end up where it ends up, though, let's be honest. Yep, I think that's the spot. So I'm going to very carefully try to hold this up here. Down here, I've got to cut a little more off. Oh, I'm going to have to reach for a pen. So again, what I'm doing here is marking so I have a sense of where to glue. I don't want glue all over the world, but this will give me a sense of it. This bottom piece, I'm going to just draw right on there and bring that over. I am not an expert at any of this, so if anybody's got the concept that they think I am, I have news. I am not. All right, we got here. What is my... Yeah, I've thought about that. People crimp around the desk doing different things and so on. Yeah, that would be not good. Also, who stole my scissors? I found them. I have scissors in my shop, people, that like at every bench, every sewing machine, and I still displace them. I still end up walking away with them, and it's just things I should not do. I should have them in place, and that's it, and I don't. And I guess that's, shall we say, life in the big city. But I blame myself a lot when I walk away with scissors. I just remind myself, hey, dum-dum, where'd you go with your scissors? All right, let's see if you guys can see that. If you see I got marks on there, this will give me a sense of where I want to glue. And then I'm going to put glue on the back of this, and I'm going to put glue on here. This is going to go down on there, and then the next step is going to be glue on this part, coming out. And just in here, what I want to be very careful of is no glue ends up in the window. I don't want to see that glue at all. So we got to make sure that's done well and done right. Okay. I did get myself a nice new brush this time. I tend to hoard these, even though these are just cheap. I think they're called acid brushes. You can get like 100 of them pretty cheap. But I do still try to be somewhat thrifty about those, because Lord knows we are not multimillionaires down here in the leather shop. That would be nice, though. I would buy some more machines. Who am I kidding? I'd buy a lot of machines. All right. It'll sound silly maybe, but those stickers really do need to come off, just to get a better bond. You don't want it on the sticker. No one's ever going to see it. No one will even know it's there. It probably wouldn't matter, but I will get a better bond that way. Ooh, still 2 people watching. I always wonder who the mystery other person is. I know the one, obviously. Daniel, I know you said a little about maybe what you've made in leather. I know you said you made a sheath for, I believe, your round knife. What else do you make, or what do you want to make, or what are you looking to get into? There's so many different things you can do in leather. It's just amazing to me. and I love all of it. It's the whole thing is just a neat process, and the stuff is durable and it lasts. If you take care of it, it'll probably outlast you. All right, here. I don't know. Am I on camera even? Kinda. It's a good idea too, Dan, to remember what you bought. I don't have a lot of exotic stuff around, but there are definitely times where I've been like, "What the heck is this?" Or I would like to get this again. So that's a good idea. The other thing you folks may have noticed is I wear this all the time. Um, Helps me see what I'm doing. My eyes are not spectacular. I'm by no means what I would call old, but I'm at a point in life that being able to see is good. So I would love my eyes to be that of a 20-year-old again, but I'm not 20. So those days have passed me by, so to speak. One thing about gluing is I will say, like, these leathers, it will not bleed through, but there are some leathers you got to watch if it's really thin. The glue actually bleeds its way through, so you got to watch that. I've learned that lesson the hard way a couple times. Also, I really hate gluing my hands. I try to avoid that if I can, but gloves are good for that. But small piece like this, doable. Ooh, look at that. That was from earlier. That was a paper towel that had my donut on it this morning with my coffee. I know, I should do better. Shouldn't be eating donuts, but here we are. Donut was here. Had the donut. Living my best life. Okay. All right, give me one. I see you responded, Daniel. Thank you. I'll read that in 1 second here. Tell you can say a lot about social media and the internet and how it's changed things, but one thing that I do think is nice is, especially if you're someone who builds things, having the opportunity to do things like this or interact with other people that make stuff, it's definitely a lot of ways a positive. There's plenty of negative things about social media, but this stuff is a positive in my opinion. Okay, we're pretty good, I think, on the glue. Try to keep it. I don't care that it's on this bench, but what I don't want to do is get it on any of the good sections of the leather. All right, let me read Daniel's comment here. Let's see what that has to say here. Okay, maybe. All right. What's the first project? Tour. A few small tote bags, like 6. Now I'm working on a bag. Okay, so just a couple random thoughts here. One, a wallet's tough. Props to you for doing that. A wallet's tough because you're using thin leather, you're skiving things down, and working it through that way. So that is tricky for sure. I wandered off to grab something. Um, there are countless things. If you're saying you're not good at freehand drawing, I suck at it. I can't. Stick figures and me don't get along a lot of times. Um, but like, here's the thing: I've used line art before. I found and modified it, but you probably already know this. But there are patterns all over the place. Like this is a very old book, General Leathercraft by Raymond Cherry. Not my book, obviously, or it's my book I own, but not the book I made. But like, they make these patterns, and those are actually billfold panels for a wallet. And you can just use trace paper, trace them, put them on the leather, and work from there. I still do that to this day. Or I'll take, this is a billfold and a belt off a Craft Aid. I happen to really like maple leaves, and I've done that. But these, I'm not saying you should run out and buy Craft Aids, but these are definitely helpful. I don't know why you can see that, but these have the ridges on this side, so you literally just set it on the leather, press it down, you have your image to carve. So that's how I got my start with carving. The other thing I noticed you said you use belly leather. I get why you're doing that. Cost savings. And you don't want to use the good leather for that part. But I recommend trying the better leather. You're going to find it's different. It's not as squishy. It's going to carve a little different. And in the long run, that's where you want to practice, in my opinion. But just food for thought. All right, 3 whole people watching. I always wonder who these other 2 people are. Let's see how we're doing here. Still a little tacky. I'm going to start reminding myself now while I'm on camera that at some point I need to put my logo on the back of the sheath. Not anywhere near that point, but when I get there, I need to remember it because I am bad about that. I've mentioned this before. All right, let's see here. Yeah, that's a very good point, Daniel. People really have no concept of how long the steps it takes to do anything by hand. I don't care what it is. And it's always fascinating to me to have that discussion with people about how long something takes. The other thing is the more you do, and I'm sure you know this, the faster you get at it. But that's the skill set you're bringing to the table, so to speak, of what you've learned. And people don't seem to, they equate speed with price going down, which is not the case really. So in my opinion. All right, so I'm just, you can't really see it, but I followed my lines out there. And again, I'm going to tap this down just to get a good set. Now the other thing I'm doing now, and it may be tough to see, let me see if I can get that close. See that piece of leather we put by there? Can you see how there's a ridge there? So that's what's going to, when I put the other piece down, it'll pop that up just a little bit, which is what I want. So by using the hammer here, just kind of following that edge down, you could do that. Piece of antler, piece of bone. I do have a bone creaser over there I use sometimes for things like that. And a lot of times I'm just doing this on the table here. I will go over to the stone and do it there because it's a little easier. I don't really know what these hammers are. They call them cobbler's hammers. I've never figured out what that does, but I actually use it for, like, to press down those spots too, which will work nice. Trying to find the upper one there. There it was. I'm doing more than I need to do here. Again, I want to be clear. I want to make sure this is back far enough. This is about the last chance I'm going to have to adjust that. The reason I'm saying that is when I put the other piece on here, I will sand this down some, and if it gets to here, it would show. We don't want that to show because we want our edge to be nice and uniform when we're done. Okay. All right, so let's see where we're at. Just going to roll that up, take a look. I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Let me think through my steps again here. So I'm going to glue this next piece. I'm going to go off camera here again. My overlays. All right, so I'm going to glue this. Then we're going to wander over to the sewing machine, and then I'm going to sew around this. And this part up there doesn't really matter because this is going to end up right there, and then this will get sewed, just this part here, because these parts are going to get sewed when I do the edges. Okay, and then this is going to end up here about, give or take, about there. And same thing, I'm going to sew, actually this one I'm going to sew all the way down because I'm leaving this open up here for the knife. I'm still torn. I may end up coloring these. I don't know yet. Very torn on that. I can't decide if I want to make that a browner color or not. That's up for debate. Okay. Another thing, Daniel, I'm going to address you directly because we're talking in the comments there. I think the other hard thing is, you make stuff for your friends that's different because you want to do it, or your family or whatever. It's an act of love, if you will, um, and you enjoy doing it. You want to share what you create and do. But when you get to a point where you're like, if I'm making a sheath for a customer or client, so much more goes into that thought process. I can't spend 12 hours on this and make $60. That doesn't make sense. Nobody's working for, $5 an hour. But people don't understand that the time that goes in to get to that point, to figure that stuff out. So, um, I do think it's good to have a discussion with your clients, your customers about those things and talk about, hey, here's what works, here's what doesn't work. This is how long this takes. This is what goes into this. Um, the other thing is, in any craft, if you ever get to the point you're selling what you do, a lot of it comes down to they're buying you. I've heard this so many times, and I would tend to agree with that. So yeah, that's a big thing. They're really buying you. So it's and I know I feel that way about stuff I've bought. So, all right, I've thought through the process. Stop babbling other things. Let's keep focused here. Definitely, we're gluing this piece next. So that's where we're going to go right now. And get the glue on there. Get all sloppy. Ooh, I'm back to 2 people. All right. I have no idea this live stuff works. Like, I don't know if people even know I'm live. I guess they send it out there just like when I post a video. I think it puts it up there. So, or sends it out to people. All right, the good news is I can kind of see where that is. I'm just going to stay back. Let me hold this up here. Because that little leather in there, that also kind of shows me where I want to be at. So I'm just going to stay up above that with the glue, which is good. That'll help me figure that out. I know this is all exciting. Anyone who's watching me glue this up. Pure excitement, I know. Try to keep yourselves calm, folks. I am going to catch all the way to the edges, though, because I want to make sure that has a good seal on this. It's going to get sewed. It won't be a problem, but I do want that glue to help us out that way. So I'm definitely going to can't stress enough how important it is not to rush steps like this. I have done it. It's not a good thing. Because if you rush and you move over there and glue ends up in places you don't want it, that is not great. Not great at all. Kind of going by the size of the brush, I can kind of see where I'm at. You may not be able to tell on camera, but I can see where I am here. But I do use, I don't remember what size brushes they are. They look like they're about a 1/2 inch maybe, but they come in different sizes. So that helps, which is nice. And I'll probably do, approximately 2 coats here, so to speak. Because again, I want to make sure it's going to be nice and tight when I glue that down. Hardest part is this I got this so thin. Just making sure I get that right. Those motorcycle or tool rolls are neat. I've always had a fondness for tool rolls as a rule. Now I did get that glue just a little off there, so while we're still wet, I'm gonna wipe it back. So it's off our don't want that. Okay. I find it's a little easier to do it when it's still wet. Some people wait till it's dry. It depends on the leather, I've noticed. Everything in leather, I'm going to babble a little about this while we're gluing. Everything is very much a stepwise process. Daniel there is talking about making a bag. It's all about the steps that go into the bag and when you have to sew, what has to be done first, second, third, and so on. So it's always important, if you're not following a step-by-step either tutorial, or I know there's kits and stuff out there, which are all good conduits. The kits help you learn, but learning that process, learning the steps you're going to take is so important. I'm going to turn this around here. All right, put that there, put this here. I am dripping glue all over the table that you can't see. That's okay. Again, I don't want to get this too close to this edge because I don't want it to get on the table and under that leather. The glue, what happens if you go to oil your leather or put on a whatever top coat you choose when you're done, or your oil, or your leather dressing, if that glue got on there, it will keep it from going into the leather, which will give you a spot that looks different than the rest, which does not look good at all. So I definitely am trying to avoid that at all costs. Again, you can kind of rub it off. I've done that. Alrighty. We're slowly winning the glue war, folks. I know it's slow. I know it's monotonous. I'm already pushing an hour, and I'm not that far along. That's not a complaint, by the way, just pointing it out. I have done this style of sheath before. It's been a little while. So I'm kind of making sure and going slow as I go through all the steps, because I don't want to have a problem as I go along, obviously. I can't stress enough how important it is. Turn your workpiece if you need to, if you can. Like, I'm going to turn it around to get in there. Stand up or sit down to figure out what works best for you. That way you can reach the places you need to reach. I do this not only with tooling, but also with anything I do, really. So, no, still got 2 people, 57 minutes in. So I'm not boring at least 2 people to tears. That's good. I do find I try to sit more than stand anymore, just because it's easier on my body. Standing on concrete after a long time is not ideal for you by any stretch of the imagination. But so I do sit when I can. And in the leather shop, it's pretty easy. I can sit a fair bit in the leather shop. It'll sound silly, but I roll around in my chairs in my leather shop. 1, because it's kind of fun. 2, because I can. So, all right. So here's where I'm going to turn this. I can see better where I'm at down in this spot here. So that's good. Ooh, orientation is locked. What does that mean? Okay, I don't know. Said orientation is locked. I don't know if that messed things up or not, folks. Okay, let's get that last little spot there. So we're going to get down in here good. I'm going to go a second coat on my ostrich leg. I had all kinds of crazy thoughts about this inlay. I thought about, do I try to do a deer as an inlay? Do I do a woodland scene as an inlay? Cut out a tree and a deer and stuff like that. But I kind of talked myself off that ledge, so to speak. Decided I'd go this direction. This was another thought I had in my head, and so far I'm happy with the direction this is taking. I think you have to be willing to try stuff. Don't ever be afraid to try new things. I know leather is expensive to buy. I know we don't want to waste leather, but you've got to try things. And when leather's costing $10 a square foot or more, which the good stuff does, yeah, it's painful to throw something out or go, geez, that didn't work. But don't forget what you might learn along the way. That makes you better. And if you never do that, you're never going to get better or improve from where you're at. So that's important. Just working my way up the final side here. All right, I am pretty happy with that. I want this to dry out just a little bit now. See where we get to. Let's see. Yep, one human watching. Guessing it's Daniel. Still got my 2 thumbs up. I like that. All right. Yeah, we're going to cheat just a little here. This one I want a little tacky in case I got to reset it where it's going. But not so wet that it's wet. So it's pretty close. I'm going to give it a second there just to dry off. Oh, second human has reappeared. That's good. I'll tell the 2 humans watching, something I have considered is how I turn this into either doing classes on YouTube like this, or just walking through different things, or maybe at some point doing classes in person. Haven't decided if I'm quite up to the skill set to do that yet, but we'll hopefully maybe someday get there. I don't know. Doing a carving class might be interesting. There's a duck. I stuck him on a magnet. He sits on the light up here. But I freehanded him. You're talking earlier about patterns versus no patterns. I did say I can't draw, and I really can't. But I am working on that. I hand drew this out too and messed with that. I think it's a practice like anything else. I am never going to be the world's great artist or drawer, but I do keep trying, seeing what I can do, and it brings your own element to what you're doing, which I think is important. Okay, I think we're in pretty good shape here. I need a couple pieces of scrap here. All right, there's a piece of scrap. All right, I am just gonna lay that there and there. As I work my way up, what I don't want to do is fall and catch somewhere that is going to stick where I don't want it to stick yet. That would be bad in my opinion. So I'm going to get up close and personal here. Maybe off camera, I'm not going to be able to tell. I'll try to keep it, but I'm just going to start to work my way up here. Do one side at a time. Other side. I'm just trying to match up, where it was, where it's from. What I'm doing is I'm kind of following the edge lines of what I did because I want that to pop up nice with that little piece of leather that's there, right? So that's really all I'm doing. I'm following this inside part more than the outside, because the outside I'm going to be able to sand that down, so not as critical. Yeah, feeling pretty good about that so far. We're just going to move this up there and make sure that's not catching. Move this up a little. Trying to breathe here and make sure I get this right. I don't want to say this is make or break. Nothing is make or break. Always redo it. But I don't want a piece of ostrich that's tan like this, so we will not be redoing that, obviously. All right, I'm going to tap this down nice. I'm purposely purposely not trying to hit in here. I don't want to compress that because that little pop-up is what we want. So I'm just trying to stay to the outside. This hammer, I don't know if you can see this. See how I have that rounded off? I wouldn't have been able to tell those weren't traced. Daniel, I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Not sure which part. But see how this is rounded? So I can hit in the center and not be hitting here. I did that to this hammer. They're kind of like that to start with. But I also mirror polish it too, so there's no scratches or anything. The magnets you made. The magnets I made. Yeah, you lost me, man. I don't know what magnets we're talking about. I got magnets? I mean, I do have magnets. Sorry if I'm blanking here when I should know. So again, just working my way around. I want this to set down so this pops up just a little bit. And you probably can't see it, but yeah, you can right there. See how you can see that little bit there? That's always something to be. That's where the skiving comes in. Oh, the duck and the fly. Yeah, man, I am not with it, man. Thanks for that. Yeah, these. I will look at a picture and then try to draw it on here. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But it is something I keep trying to do. I keep those little squares of leather around because one, they're not very big. These are like, what are these? Let's see here. This is like 2 by 3.5. I've always got enough scrap laying around. I cut out little pieces like that. I keep it by the bench, and when it catches me, I will draw something on it and tool it out. So if you see here, I'm over a little bit. I'm going to cut that piece off. But I am happy with this overall. I could make a case I should have skived this edge down so you don't see that as well, but I don't think it's going to matter by the time we sew around it. I don't think it's going to be too noticeable. So right now, this is what the front of our sheath is going to look like. I'm going to stitch that first, but then I'm going to come back and glue that on. And this will get glued here. And I'm going to roll this over. So it's a lined sheath, right? So that'll be that way. And this will be on down here. Yeah, we're heading in the right directions here, I think. The next thing becomes is, do I just freehand stitch this or do I draw a line? I'm tempted to draw a line because it's a little easier to follow. Tends to help out, so I think I might do that. Got one little glue spot there I don't like. That'll come out. Sometimes the glue smushes over a little bit if it's not dry enough. That's what happened. Should have showed you before. There's one little spot down there I just got rid of. So, all right, let's see here. I suppose we should wander over towards the sewing machine. Let me make my line first. So I'm going to get a wing divider. I think some people call them compasses. I call them wing dividers. I don't know. And I'm going to line this up. I'm going to kind of just do this by feel, I think, where I want my line to be. I want it fairly close in. You know, not too far out. So let's see here. Give me 1 second here, folks. I got to respond to a message. I hope this doesn't mess the live up. If not, I will come back on. But give me 1 second here. All right, I'm live again. All right, good. Hopefully I'm back. Hopefully y'all can see me again. All right, so again, I'm using my wing divider here. And I'm just going to draw my lines is just so I can follow it. When I sew, when I do this, I find it gives me a better result than just kind of winging it, so to speak. When I say winging it, I still have things that guide me. And I just saw a spot I really don't like that I missed. I have to address. There's one small cut mark I have to take the piece off, which is no big deal. Now the other thing I don't think I'm going to bother with is using a beveler around this edge. In this case, it doesn't look too bad, so they're going to leave it as is. No, I'm off camera. My apologies. Just fixing a spot here that's. Okay, so let's see if I can show this. Oh, Ann, nice to see you. There's my line I'm going to sew around. Two whole humans now watching this because, you know, got our ostrich leg in there. And now we're going to hope not to mess it up. So why don't we go on a walkabout over to the sewing machine. And then see if I can set this up over there without messing the world up. Y'all might get to see my head again, too. All right. There it is. We're at the Singer. This is a flatbed machine. Let me see what I can figure out here. It's going to make sense. I have no idea. There's a very top-down view. That probably doesn't work well. Let's try this. Y'all want to look at the concrete floor, right? I think that would be great. Alrighty, let's see here. Ooh, this might be a win. I'll just let you look at this thing over here, right? Alright, let's... Trying to keep myself out of the shot with still be able to function. I have, let me show you all this. So I got a foot pedal here. I got to have my foot on. This is for pushing that up and down, which I use my thigh for. So, and in the meantime, I don't want this tripod in my way while I'm doing all that, but also let you guys see what's going on. All right. I'm gonna think I have enough thread in there on my bobbin. All right. My head is probably going to be in the shot. My apologies. Nobody wants to look at my head, but it's just a thing. It's going to happen. Trying to decide which way I want to be here. I think we're going to go this way with it. And I'm going to sew all the way around it. So I don't have to back stitch because I'm just going to go over the one. At least that's my understanding of it. So let's see what happens here. All right, I'm going to turn the machine on. Machine is on. I'm going to lift the foot up. And I'm going to position myself where I want to be. Lighting is so important on this. All right, there we go. We are started. And I guess wish me luck, people. That's good. I'm making people laugh. That's a good thing. All right, here we go. Just going to take my time. What you can't see is my right hand is on the wheel of the machine. This particular machine is a clutch motor on it, which means if I really push that down, it's going to go flying, and I don't want that. One thing, let me see how close you can see. Before I said about if I don't draw this line, what I would do is use the edge of this as a guide to this. And I get it pretty close doing that. Over the years, I've gotten better at. When I started, no. Yes, and good luck is definitely the correct thing here, because if I mess this up, we're going to throw this over in the corner and start over, and we don't want to do that. Alrighty. And I leave my hand on the wheel because I can kind of coax it along, but I also can stop it if I get out of control, because I'll lift my foot and stop it. I am so close to the edge, I got to be careful. I want it nice and tight and close, but I don't want it so close that I'm missing the leather, because that would be really kind of lousy. I don't know if you can see that. I brought the needle about halfway up from its downstroke, and because I was coming on that angle up, and now I'm going to go this way, I turned it a little bit on the upstroke. I just pushed it over, so that helps. And I will do the same when I get to the corner up here, but we're about maybe 25%. And as much as I would love to fly around this, I know that that's a recipe for disaster, and I do not have more tangerine colored ostrich. And I am really liking how it looks, so let's pray we don't mess this up. I really don't want to call out leather out again and spend another hour doing it. All right, I'm going to do just a slight adjustment here. I'll never see this upper stitch because it's going to go under the overlay we're doing. But I'm at a point now I got to turn this. So I am going to do that. So I'm going to take a quick look, make sure we look pretty good. We do look good going down the line there. That's good. The other thing I'm going to do right now is these tag ends. I don't know if you can see them. I'm going to snip them off because we're going to come back up on that and go through the same holes again. So we do not need those there anymore. Say goodbye. All right. All right, coming across the little, it's about an inch, I think, across the top, maybe a little more. Again, no one will ever see that part because of that overlay, so if I'm going to mess up, that's the place to do it. Someday I'm going to get some servo motors and try them out. They're supposed to be much more controllable. I don't know. I'm used to these, so I've never bothered, I guess. All right, so down the straightaway here we go. We are definitely over the halfway point. Did notice when I cut that, I left a couple little dots there from the awl. I'm going to have to smooth those out, I think. That should be all right. Sometimes the pressure of the foot smooths them out too, so it may not be an issue. So important not to push the piece, because that'll mess your stitching up or push it in a direction you don't want. I'm letting the machine pull it along. I'm just helping hold it down and letting it flow. We are almost in the home stretch here. And down to the corner. One more stitch across there. All right, now we're going to make the turn again. Across that bottom, which again, you're not going to see this down here because this will be disappeared by the bottom overlay. Yeah, one more. I'm actually going to adjust this back just a hair. And that hair going back is so I can meet this better. So needle on the way up, make my turn. What I'm doing is, you can't probably see it on camera, but I'm trying to catch my sight line between the two here. All right. So since I know that bottom piece is not going to be seen, if I'm a little off there, I'm not really worried about it. And now I want to make sure, and I'm going to take a look. Yep, I'm in the, where I come back over the stitching in the same hole. Sorry if I'm bumping the camera. And I don't know, I went 5 or 6 over it. So our needle is out. I'm going to pull this. We did not run out of lower thread. That is wonderful. I was afraid we might, but not the end of the world if we did. I'm going to snip these guys. Obviously, I need to sharpen my scissors. And I'm going to take a look here. I want to make sure I didn't skip any stitches. Once in a while, this machine will get a little ornery on me and skip a stitch, but it did not. So you can see there, I have a nice uniform line going around. Some of these marks from the foot, you can probably see. I will smooth that out. It won't be a matter, but I think we won that part. Feeling good about it. All right. I'm going to go on a walkabout in the shop here in a second. Let me check this bobbin. I got a feeling it's tied. It's so hard to see. Yeah, you know what? Thread is not super expensive. We are going to change the bobbin. Excitement here, people. Changing the bobbin out. Pure excitement. I know you're all here for it. That's what everyone's been watching for. And, oh my, yes. Can you see how little thread is left there? I rolled the dice and won on that one. Okay. Set that there. Ooh, 4 humans. If you're just joining us, this is pure excitement. I'm changing a bobbin at the moment on the sewing machine. I'm going to shut the sewing machine off. This has an automatic bobbin threader on it. As the machine works, it actually threads the bobbin for the next one. So as long as I remember to put it on there, I'm good to go, which is nice. Bobbin is in. I'm going to run this down so it runs around it. And then I should be able to, there it is. I pulled it up. You probably can't see that, or maybe you can, I don't know. But there it is. I just give it a little jerk through there to get it under the spring that's on the bobbin there. This thing in the back is probably something you won't see other ways. Yeah, buy a lottery ticket. Give me some credit here. I know how to sew sometimes. Most people just hold the 2 tag ends when they go to sew when they start. That annoys me. And this was something that got designed to hold the thread down. It's just screwed down over here. There's a little piece of leather under it. It's got kind of a springy thing. I think it's a piece of brass, maybe. I don't know. Not my design. It's actually something my father bought around and thought it might be useful. And I got to tell you, I love it. Use it all the time. It's great. Okay. We're going to shut this off because no sense waste electricity because that's expensive. Here. This is the bobbin threader. That's on the... These are considered commercial machines. So that's partially why this has it this way, but all sewing machines have some way to thread bobbins. The nice part to me is this is threading while you're sewing, or this is wrapping itself while you're sewing. As long as I start it out here, it's good, and we're good to go. All right, that's all good. I will just snip this guy off. This actually has 2 spools of thread up there. All right, let's take a wander somewhere else in the shop. Here we go. Everybody walk with me. We're going to walk over here. Yep. Oops, stitching pony. And we're going to go down here a second. Got to lower this back down into a place that makes sense. And we're going to go up on the table again. All righty. Okay. All right. I think we are back in business. Does this count towards my daily step count? Does this count towards your daily step? I think it should. I mean, you did walk with me as long as you were actually walking with me. Have a feeling you weren't, though. But, you know, if you were, sure, that'll count. All right, I'm going to walk off camera here for a second, but I'm going to keep talking. All I'm doing is clipping off that little overhang on the top. I want to make you all walk around the bench. But I'm going to do that right now. And that'll be done. That is now done. And where are we at? Where are we at, people? We're through a big step, in my opinion. All right, we're back on camera. Got to put a couple tools away so All right, so there's our overlay on the bottom. So I'm going to do the same thing. I want to mark this so I have an idea where to glue. I want to make sure that I'm not getting glue up here, where it's going to cause any issues. And I'm going to do the same. I should mark this one up here too. I need my drawing. Why didn't you people remind me I needed my drawing? Let me get that. All right, got my drawing. Walking back around the benches. So I just wanted to, well, you can see if I wanted to see how far I came down up here. So I'm actually going to measure from the top to here to give me an idea of where I want to set that. So, because that's important. So, yes, I need my drawing. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. Very shortly, I will not need this drawing much more because we will be past needing this. But I can't stress for anyone who's watching that's doing some leather work how important this is for doing sheath work because it's a custom sheath. Ruler, here we go. Got my ruler. There it is. This, I could just count the boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which should be 1.5 inches. It is. So let me find my 1.5 inches on here. This is not super critical. This is like if I'm off a little bit, a 30-second or something, it's fine. It's a feeling thing too. So it's all good. Hey, I'm up to 3 thumb marks. I like that. 3 thumbs up. So I am just going to come down to about there. And you may notice that the black shows it's a little longer. That's because, again, I'm going to end up cutting this down or sanding this down as we go along. So does that look pretty good to me? That does. All right, I'm going to stick my head in here. You're probably going to see it. I apologize because nobody needs to see my head, right? That's all right. I'm going to just want to get some kind of idea of where I want to be. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom one now. What you may not be able to see is I put 2 little dots there, which is these spots right here. So I can line that up again. So now the bottom one, we're going to do a similar thing here. I just realized I put a tool away that I'm going to use that. That's it. So I'm using a pen because it marks a little better, in my opinion. But again, I'm marking it below the surface a little, below the, not surface, but below this. So you'll never see it. What bald spot? I got a bald spot? Huh, who knew? Oh well. I wear hats. I'm good. Actually, I know that's false because I have a ginormous amount of hair and I need a haircut at the moment. Okay, let's go back to glue sniffing. Fun fact, they call a lot of leather workers glue sniffers. Again, please don't sniff the glue. This is not good or healthy for you. You don't want that. I do want to point out again, this is an avenue where you may want to skive this a little bit. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. It's tricky because it's so thin, but what skiving does, it allows this to lay flatter out here. Gives you a nicer finish. So, alrighty. Hey, I'm up to 4 thumbs up. Look at that, people. 4. So I'm skiving off camera probably because I don't want to mess this up. This is a skiving. It's one I made myself. I've had others. There's lots of different ways, but they even make a machine that'll do this. So. Okay, look at that. I messed it up. See that? I cut it. So this will be the 3rd time I'm going to remake this piece, which is okay. This is why it's a little risky to skive this stuff. It's so easy to... I want a nice uniform pitch, but I don't want to have to remake it, obviously. It's very easy to obviously skive through a thin piece of leather. which is what I did there. The good news is it was a smaller piece, so not that big a deal. I'm just going to go over, cut another piece out, and move on with my life. I know I'm off camera. I know it's exciting. Try to remain calm. It's Monday, though. Of course, that has really no bearing on me. Because a lot of times I work on Saturday and Sunday or whenever I feel like it, or late at night. It's both the benefit and detriment of having your shop nearby. Again, I'm just kind of, what's happening is when I skive is I'm taking the edge down to an angle. So it's thicker on the inside, thinner on the outside, which helps it lay down a little nicer. I doubt you can even tell I did anything there. But yes, absolutely. My boss works me way too hard, and he pays lousy, I gotta tell you. But I'm dumb enough to keep showing up. So that's what I keep doing. Alrighty. Okay, I am going to go fix this disaster. Oh, I lost my live humans. That's okay. I'm going to keep talking anyway, because that's what I do on this live, because I feel like I'm supposed to. Alright. So I'm off camera, but I am getting a piece of leather. I'm just spot the work here. This section, don't you love how you can't see what I'm doing? Okay. Alright. Believe it or not, we're doing pretty well here, folks. There's the piece of leather. Here is my drawing. Gonna set that on there. I need my awl. Here's my awl. Get that glue out of the way. And for the third time, I am gonna mark this out because I had so much fun doing it the first two times. All right, almost there. I'm gonna go off camera again to cut this. I'm not making you guys go and walk about with me. Hopefully you can see the dots there. And I'm over on the cutting bench where we're doing some cut work. Here we go. Let's hope I don't mess it up. That trick cut is done. That was easy. That was easy. Let's be honest. And we're going to work our way up the other one now. Alright. Got that. I'm doing the curvy part. You know, the curvy part. And once again, using the scalpel for this. Alright, there we go. Now the question becomes, is do I try to Skype this down again? There's our piece, back on camera. I got one human back. Let's see, do you still make and sell those skiving knives? I don't trust the sketchy sites saying they use M390, so I've only been using French skivers from Tandy. I haven't made one in quite a while. There's a lady who makes boots. I don't personally know her. I just know of her. Actually, I have a book she did on inlay and overlay, which is wonderful. Lisa Sorrell's her name. She makes cowboy boots. She sells a skiver that's just metal that she swears by. And doing the work she does, skiving work is a major, major thing. But I have not sold these knives in a long time. Could I make it on one? Yeah, I could. So it's a possibility. Years ago, I did make some for sale. And I don't know, what could you use a really fine grit sandpaper to do that instead of the knife? You know, yes Yes and no. The problem with the leather is it pushes. I've done that on thicker pieces where I actually use sandpaper. This stuff is so thin. This is, let me measure it. This is my handy dandy measuring tool. So this measures out at, it's about 2 ounces, which puts me under a millimeter. So that's why it's tough to do that on something so thin. I'm not even sure I need to. I'm probably being too OCD or too particular, maybe. I don't know. I'm still gonna take just the hair off here. Just a whisker. Daniel, you said about making wallets before. If you know, there's so many different styles of wallets. I don't know specifically what you did, but you probably did some skiving work, like you said, with the French skiver. The French skivers work well. I use those at times too. I've used the, I don't know, actually don't know what they're called. Let me get an example because I have them. So I've used this type before, which you put a blade inside there, but the blade does not stay sharp long. Yeah, so your half knives you made, they look amazing. Yeah, I did mess around, make some half round knives. There's one I made. Tried it with a hole in there to make it a little easier. It's kind of crazy that I made my own, and yet the one I'm using I think is one from Tandy. There's another one I made too. That one I like better because it's thinner. So yeah, I did make those for a while. I'm probably littered over the website you were on there, saw that stuff. So I don't know what you guys could. You probably can't even tell. See if I can get that to focus. See, that's a little bit of an angle there. So yes, yep, this guy. And that's probably just cherry I stained. I don't really remember what it was. That is so long ago. Obviously not an avenue I pursued, but they were fun to make while I did them. Alrighty here. I think I'm gonna not press my luck anymore for skiving. Let's just see how that lined up there. I think we're pretty good. Yeah, I think we're all right. Again, I think I talked about. Let's see. Again, I want to make sure I think there. Once I glue this, is where I'm going to stitch on each part. That's important. For funsies, I made a big skiving knife too. The other thing is which way you put that angle. I tend to go away from myself, but if you're coming towards yourself, you want the angle the other way. You would want it this way, I believe, because you're supposed to. There's a piece of leather. I need a big piece of leather. When you're doing it, you're not straight on them. You're coming at an angle, going down it with these. So if you're coming towards yourself, you want to be able to cut that way, I think. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me. You also notice how much easier it was to skive that down. The other thing that a lot of folks will do is they actually, if their round knife is sharp enough, they'll do it with their round knife. I don't know if I can get the angle on this. But like, if you get your angle right, which I'm struggling with at the moment, but you can skive that corner down like that. But you can do that with your round knife too. Round knives are one of those things that once you get used to them, they work great, but boy, is there a learning curve, at least in my opinion. All right, glue time, people. It's that boring time of the process where we glue. All right, let's see what we got here. Get rid of some stuff that we all can't see in my way, because we don't want stuff in my way. Very important to keep a clean working area, in my opinion. If not, you start knocking stuff over, mess your project up. That would be bad. Alrighty. Geez, hour and 40. Crazy. This day is just blowing by us. Alright, so I am just, I have no idea what you can see or can't see at this point. But I'm going to follow those lines I made before. Again, I don't want glue up on the part you're ever going to see. So I'm just going to follow that out that way. Also get it on here. Try not to get it on myself or the front of that again. See if I'm on camera. Oh, I am on camera. All right. Again, my apologies if you're all looking at my head. And again, sometimes you gotta do 2 coats. A lot of times I do it just precautionary because the leather will soak the glue in some. So all right, we got that on there. A little more down on this guy. I did not rough this up. I'm not too worried about it. Normally I would rough the leather up a little bit to let this bond better, but because we're going to sew all the way around this, I don't think it's an issue. So we're not going to worry about that. The other thing is the smaller piece here, this thin little piece, this 2-ounce piece is really soaking this one in. So I'm just going to give it a little more there. Thankfully, it's not bleeding through. We don't want that. All right. That's that piece. What I'm going to do on this top piece, because it's going to roll over, is I'm only going to go to about here and stick it on this part. And then we'll come back and do the back and roll it over. Okay? So again, I might be off camera. I don't know, because the tripod is up that way, and I'm down this way. Hopefully, if nothing else, you folks are having fun laughing at me, which I'm okay with. Again, I can't stress enough, well-ventilated area you want to be in when you're doing the glue. You want to have nothing that is flammable anywhere on. Don't light a lighter. Don't have things that have open flame because the fumes can move along the floor and things like that. And that would be really bad. And I don't want to see anybody have any problems. So just food for thought there. Everything you do should consider safety. It's your own health, your own body. Crafting and making is a lot of fun, but risk comes with it. I can think of much riskier situations, so let's be honest. All right, that's there. Now again, I made my marks inside of this, so like up in here, so I know I'm not going to go out into the part of the leather that's going to be seen. I'm kind of just winging this a little bit here. Slight guesstimation to where everything is. But I do have my marks, so that's good. Okay. And again, this is going to get stitched, so down here should be, it's pretty good. Let me cover my glue up. Glue is covered. Let's see. Anybody saying anything here? Let's see here. Don't sniff the glue. I'm not sniffing the glue. All right, maybe a little. That's good memory. This just search Lisa Sorrel and found Sorrel notations. Look like she has them made in Japan and sells them for only 40. Yeah, in my memory, they're not too expensive. I've never personally used Lisa Searle's tools, but if you want to talk about someone who has done a metric ton of inlay overlay work and skiving, it's her. Again, never met her. I'm not a boot guy, but I can respect her work. It's phenomenal stuff. Um, but just the thought process. I know there's others out there too, but I think the bigger thing is, Daniel, is sharpening. You want to make sure that you have a sharp tool. I can't stress that enough. All right, bottom piece is on. Again, we're going to grab our handy dandy hammer. Avoid hitting ourselves. Yeah, I've done that. And there our bottom pieces on. This is soaked in a lot. I'm just going to give it a little more up there. You know, I always call this craft. They don't call this art, but your artistic parts come in as what you do with your inlay, what you do down here. But you have to have your function right. If the sheath does not house the knife right, then all the pretty and all the art in the world does not matter. The sheath also has to function. So there's a blend here. There's both the craft or the art, but also the reality of this is a functional item that is meant to be used. So, all right, cover my glue up again. That's good. I want my drawing onto the floor. At some point, my assistant will get that for me. By the way, I am my assistant. Okay, let's see. Any more commentary? Oh, you know, Dave, you said it's good memory. I can't say it is because I have to tell you the truth. I actually was looking at Lisa Searle's book on overlay inlay before I started this, just to kind of refresh my memory for a few minutes. But I have a lot of books kicking around that I tend to reference at times, or I'll look something up quick that I think I remember just to kind of refresh my memory. So, which is a good thing. Alrighty, let's see here. I had, like I said, I put those 2 dots on there before to see where I belong. And those 2 dots. All right, so the one thing I am going to do as I'm thinking through process, I think I want to sew, let me make sure I'm on camera so you folks can see. I want to make sure I sew down to this and up to here. And let me get the knife. I'll show you why I'm talking about that. There's 2 reasons. Ooh, I left the scalp out. Let's not do that. All right, so because somebody designed this weird, me, this sticking out here, I think what I'm going to end up doing is this is going to come up, but our stitch line for the sheath itself is going to be about there. So this is actually going to be open up here. So this can just slide by it, so to speak. So what I'm going to want to do is, on the flatbed machine over there, I'm going to stitch down, round, and up to here. Because the other stitch line is going to stop about there when we do the whole sheath together. So to do that, I don't want those stitches to be showing or have any chance of getting rubbed off from the knife going in and out. So I'm going to do it like this first. I'm going to mark where I'm going to start and go down to and work from there. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Because then when I roll this over, no one will see it. Now this bottom one, like I said, is going to get stitched down to here and here. So this one I'm just going to go there. So I'm going to grab my wing divider again. Got my wing divider. And we're just going to, once again, make a mark to where we want to be. Now, I kind of know roughly where the mark goes from the other stitch line I did. So I'm going to use that as a reference point. And again, the whole reason for the mark is just to make it a little simpler when I sew that I have a uniform line. Um, I don't like if this stitch line moves out, your eye is going to be drawn to that. And I don't want that. I don't want your eye being drawn anywhere but seeing it as it is for what it should be. Okay? So I don't even be like, oh my God, look at that stitch line. That's terrible. No, that's no good. We don't want that. Okay? All right. So I'm probably, I don't know if I'm on camera. You know, I'm being quiet because I'm concentrating. Sometimes not an easy thing to do for me. Now, the other thing I'm just had a revelation, something else I remembered I have to do. One of the things we talked about, or I talked about early on, or one of my, it might have been a YouTube short, is where am I off the back here if I'm going to go down and do a snap, or if I'm going to loop around with a piece of leather to a button stud. And I think I'm going to go button stud here. You may be asking, well, why is that important right now? That's because that button stud has got to go on there. So I'm going to go off camera here a minute, take a little walkabout, and see what I got. Let's see here. Don't snow. Okay. Glad you didn't darken the veg tan. Yeah. Now here's the thing with that. I am probably going to use some saddle soap on that, which will darken it a little bit, and then I'll probably put some picards on it, which will also darken it a little bit. So this is going to take on a nice patina, but it's also going to darken just a little bit. I don't think it would have been right to dye it. I agree with you, Daniel. I think I'm glad we didn't go that direction. Okay, I have about 4 million bins of stuff over here, so I just got to find what I'm looking for, and I can. In this case, I don't have a lot of Sam Brown button studs or whatever these things are called, but I do have nice black color. Right way to go as opposed to silver or brass. So there it is. There's our little button stud. So we got to figure out, I think I'm going right about there. The tricky part here is I got to make sure that stays away from the... No, I don't. I can do this after I sew. This is, I talk to myself a lot, which is what you all see me doing here. When I'm sewing down this on what's called a walking foot machine, it's two pieces like this going up and down. That's why they call it a walking foot. So I don't want to hit that. But I can sew this first. Then I can punch that hole, put this on, and then glue this back on. So that is what I'm going to do there, because that'll be easier. So shall we go on a walkabout again? I feel like we should. Let's take our little walkabout. We're going to wander over to the sewing machine again. I know, it's exciting, people. It's exciting. And get your steps in. Get your steps. Here we go. Let's take a walk. Stitch and Pony. There's some other stuff over that away. See that milk crate? That's where my scrap leather is at. Where I got my ostrich, I got it too. Alrighty, here we go. Oh, this is the bins where I got my Sam Brown stud out of. I might have some hardware, folks. Just a wee bit of hardware. Okay. Here we are. Look at the floor again, people. I'm learning a lot about how to navigate this camera thing today here. I'm using a very ancient tripod of the thing I made on top, which I can't show you, obviously. Okay. Get a light turned on. Now, you may be wondering, we did that bobbin switch before. You know why that's good? Because I don't have to think about it now. 6-hole people. Wow. That's awesome. Hey, judge all you want. I don't call it overstocked. I call it prepared. Thank you. In all seriousness, a lot of why I have that much comes from the reality of me over the years buying out a shop and things like that. So that would be more the reason why. So I'm thinking my way through where I want my stitch to end. It's a little tricky on this one because I don't know exactly where we're going to end up when we sew up it. So I'm just kind of winging it. Let's see here. Again, this particular machine does not have a reverse on it, which means I have to turn the piece around, which is okay. All right, everybody, pray that this works because we're at a point where this doesn't work. It's not good. So I'm just working my way down the line right now. This one, because I'm not coming all the way around, I am essentially backstitching both sides. So that's an important bit we're doing right now. Get my big paws out of the way here. Alrighty, so here we go. And again, you all can't see the line I'm following, but I can. Barely, actually, but I am following it, which is good. Sometimes I'll put the foot up just to see where I'm at, because that's very important sometimes. But you get a pretty good sense of it over time, where you're at, where you need to be. But it does help. You could hand stitch this if you wanted to. I don't want to, so I'm not going to. How's that? Okay, so I'm at my end point. I'm going to spin it around. Once again, I got my needle about halfway up in the air. Anyone that tells you sewing machines make life simpler and that there's never any issues, I have news. There's plenty of issues. It's a whole new skill set you got to learn. Once you learn it, it does make things faster, I will freely admit, but till that point, it does not. All right, so our bottom one is sewed as far as I'm going to take it for right now. There we go. We're going to clip off our tag ends here. Sometimes if they stick up too much, I'll take a lighter quick and burn them off. But you got to be careful not to singe the leather, obviously. But I do that fairly often. There's our backside. Again, you will never see this in here. This is going to get flipped over anyway, which will help protect those. Not that that's a big deal, really. But, so we're going to do the same thing now. Let me just make sure I'm doing this the right way. You all probably can't see it. Let me just... normally there's a foot on each side of this. This particular foot, someone before me had taken off the other side. So I try to watch where this foot lands on here. I don't want the foot to fall off the side because it pulls it one way. So that's what I'm looking at here when I'm talking about which way I want to be. All right. Yep, that'll be the answer. Okay, so again, no reverse, so I'm going to work my way up this first. I'm going to turn it around. By the way, that light is very hot. Don't touch it. I may have just touched it. Maybe just a little. Sometimes I'll pull the thread through so they don't get bound up underneath, because we don't want that. I know, it seems like a lot to go through, doesn't it, folks? Alrighty. These are all the little things I think about as I'm working my way through these. Again, my head may be showing. I am trying to make sure I have a really good visual with my specs on so I can see what's going on. I'm really not, I'm pretty much hand doing this by turning the wheel over by hand. I really don't want to use the foot pedal because it can get away from me so fast, and we don't want that. So now here again, I'm gonna just pick that foot up just a little bit, and you guys probably can't see that, but I'm doing it so I'm making sure I'm not off the leather, and also so it looks right. This is like I said, I don't want to say this is nerve-wracking, but you know, messing up here means taking this off and going back and doing other things, and we don't want to do that if we can help it. So home stretch, last curvature here, if you can see it. I know that light blends it out a little bit, but just one little straightaway after this curve, and we will be in our home stretches. One last little turn. Ooh, we're up to 4 people again. Who are the new people? Please introduce yourselves. Say hi. We're talking leather things. I'm building a sheath. Would love for anybody, if you have any questions, by all means post it, and I'll do what I can to help answer. Again, I'm looking to see kind of where it ends. And now we're going to turn it to back stitch it. All right, there we go. I think we won. Okay. So once again, I'm going to clip those guys. I'm going to set my machine for next time. I try to do that so I'm set to go, and when I sit down, I can just focus on sewing and nothing else. That's always my goal. So. All right. See, it's sewed there. Got this. We're going to wander. We're going to go and walk about. And get ready, get your step counter going. I hate to tell you, it's probably about 10 steps though. But here we go. Let's, we're gonna turn this. Gonna lower this down again. All right. Sewing machine off, light off. And I'm gonna count the steps. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 steps, and you can add 9 steps. Something tells me I'm not going to reach my step goal today either. Just a feeling. Alrighty. So let's talk about where we're at now. We're at a point now where this is going to get folded over. One thought I had was, and I'm not sure if I want to, part of me thinks I should run a stitch line maybe straight across this top too. But on the other hand, it's pretty uniform. I think it's okay. I think we might leave that alone. I don't think we need the stitch line. What I might do is just draw a line across it towards the end, but I think for now we're just going to leave that. Now we're at a point where this has to get done, this button. So let me just, I'm going to kind of eyeball it. Because your eye will be drawn to where it sits to this and to that. So that's what I'm looking at. Apologies for my head again. I was trying to be cute there. It did not work. That time it worked. All right. I'm going to get a hole punch here. And we'll find the right size. And let me see if this reaches. If it doesn't, we'll have to do it another way. Nope, it reaches. So I'm just going to give it a look-see. I think that looks all right to me. Just a smidge over, I think. Ah, all right, there. If you groan, it works better, right? So our hole is through. Hopefully I picked a big enough one. Ooh, I didn't. I'm going to have to go up one. Really don't want to do that, though. Let's see here. I try to make sure that hole is in the right size range. You don't want to get too big, so it's too sloppy. It's actually not too bad. Is it that bad? It's probably because I am on my earbuds, so it may sound like I'm in a cave. That would be my guess. So my apologies if it sounds like I'm in a cave. All right, as you can see, that is now through. And that just needs to get pounded onto there. I'm going to go off camera a second here, and I'll keep talking. We're going to give this a whack or two with a hammer. Get this set down nice so it's done. Looking pretty good. All right. Yes, I like what I see. Okay. So back on camera I come. There we are. That is all set and done. And it's glue time again. That exciting part of the day where we glue stuff. God is gluing board. But it's important, we got to get it done. Let's see. I can use my bigger brush on this one. This brush is a mess, but it's okay. We are actually coming down the home stretch at this point. This is a big part of this build, is getting this done. There's still several steps to go. Don't know how much longer I'll hang out alive, but definitely through this. Getting the glue all over the place on the leather, not on me, not on the bench. But a couple reasons for this rollover piece, this lining. It helps hold the knife in place. That's definitely part of it, which is good. The other thing is I think it looks nice, gives it a touch that otherwise it would not have. So, all part of it. I know you're all excited to see me glue and put glue on there. Starting to think through what I have to do for the back piece now. There's some steps that there's really no decoration I'm doing on the back. I do have to put my stamp on it, which again I'm kind of reminding myself right now because I'm going to forget. Because I'm good at forgetting. I do need to dye the back of that also, because the part where the belt loop is will show. So I want to make sure it gets dyed black so you don't see the unfinished leather. I'm trying to think what else I have to do there. Also, that liner again is going to cover up that little bit of threading there, which is nice, help hold things in place, which is good. All right, so we are almost there. We are getting there. Well, it can be relaxing, just sitting there brushing it on, getting it done. But I use this time to think about my next steps, where I'm at, and so on. I do not like to sniff the glue, people. Do not sniff the glue. Again, leather workers are called glue sniffers, but don't sniff the glue. Bad for you. Not good. All right. Yeah, and I'm trying not to get it all over my bench. This is what I call my dyeing and glue bench, so I don't ever want to be doing this over my tooling bench because I don't want the glue to get on what I'm working on there. So it's not the end of the world if I get some on there. I just wipe it off. If you look real close, you can see dye marks where I've missed with dye, which again, I would much rather have dye on here than over on the tooling bench because I don't want that dye to get on, say, I don't want black dye to suddenly get on the brown leather. That would be really bad in my opinion. And like there, I just missed a little bit, so I just wipe it up. So works out well. And again, this is soaking it in pretty good, so I'm just giving a little extra coating there. I got it a little thick on this part down here, that away, but that's okay. We're going to cheat it here in a second with our hot gun, with our, that thing's called hot air gun. I could do that just from my own speaking. Use my own hot air. That would probably work. All right. Heat gun. That's what I meant to say. Heat gun. Wow. Why could I not come up with heat gun in a moment? Four people watching. Who are these other humans that are not interacting? I'm going to guess you like leather work, or you just happen to click on this accidentally and don't have a clue what's going on. So we're making a leather sheath, if any of you have been following along and are wondering what the heck I'm doing. We're making it for that knife over there. Look at that, I scared one away. We're down to 3. So. Alrighty. Very close here. I do try to let this naturally dry. I think it's a little better, but this works. And for this step we're doing, again, the whole thing is going to get stick, so it's really not going to matter in the end. So, alright. Heat gun done. Let me see what I can do. I am scary. I'm very scary. I scare people away, clearly. But look, we're back to 4 humans. 4 people. Come on, people, feel free to ask a question. Don't let Ann have all the fun. All right, so I am just making sure I have a nice tight rollover here. That's really one of the critical spots up there. And I work my way down. There we go. And again, I want to tap this down nice. Alright, none of this will ever be seen. In fact, you will never see more than right about there. Ooh, we're up to 5 people. Let's see if I can scare those people off. No, seriously, if you folks have any leatherwork questions, this is what we're working on. We're working on Sheath. It's for this guy. That's what it's going to look like. And good news, we need to go on a walkabout, which and there is getting her steps in by going on a walkabout, which is very important. So, all right. Gonna walk over here to the cutting bench. And we're gonna bring you guys along here. Let's see. All right, we're at the cutting bench. There we go. For a second. If you had sewn it by hand, what's your preferred stitch type? I mean, on a French style. Honestly, Andy, you probably know more about that than I do. I don't have a preferred type. I've never messed around with. Yeah, the word's escaping me right now. When I've done it, I've only done it by stitches per inch and using an awl, as opposed to buying the chisels, which that's the name that's escaping me right now. So I don't know that I have the answer to that. I have spent so many years now getting away from hand stitching because I have the machines, and over the years have bought the machines. So I don't have a good answer for you there. I feel like it's probably something I read at some point, but I don't know. All right, there is where we're at. Just get this a little more in the center here. That's a valid point, Ann. I am rolling at 6'5", so my steps are much more than the average person, I would imagine. There's the how we're going to look. Where is my knife? There's my knife. All right. This is, I'm still working my way through all of this. So one thing I don't know yet is, yeah, I think we're okay. Like, we're going to sew up to there. I'm going to leave this open so it sits down, if y'all can see that. I'm liking how we look. It's going to have white stitching down the sides. That's going to sit up there. It might be a little floppy. This is what I mean by leather going around this to hold it in. This is not the piece of leather, but it will have a piece there. And then the other one will come around this way and just push on there to hold the knife in place. So that's how that's going to be. Like that when we're all done. This is a little floppy. I'm not thrilled with that, but I think it's okay. I had thought about cutting this to match that, but I don't think I'm going to bother. I think I'm going to leave it straight because I like it. That's where we're at. I think I'm going to call it a day on the live for now, folks. The next steps are fairly boring. What can I say? Gato, nice to see you there, my friend. Maybe I'll stick on a few more minutes here while I step up the next pieces. Yeah, let's stay a little bit longer. It's not going to hurt me to do that. So let's see. Got to remember to put my stamp on the back. I will do that. All right, let's work our way through what has to be done here. We're actually in a home stretch. It may not seem like it, but we really are. I have to skive. Let me see where this comes to again. So this is about there. That sets down to there. All right. This is going to break out right about there. I'm marking this so I know this is 7/8 ounce leather. So I want to get this on an angle so it sits better. Could you make this strap part lower so it's not visible on the back, if that makes sense? Can I make the strap part lower so it's not visible on the back? Huh. No, it does not make sense to me. If you mean the strap that's going to go around the knife, like this, I'm not sure if that's what you mean there, Ann. That's normally what it looks like, is something like that. It'll be a little fatter down here with a hole but to press over the button. So how is that going to show on the back if you're talking about this strap? Can you make it? I'm reading this. Like I can't, like it has to be around, if we're talking about this strap, it has to be around the knife to hold it. Because that's what it's doing. It's holding it down on the guard there to hold it down in the sheath so it can't come out. Shoot me a comment if that makes sense. I don't know if it does. You'll never see it on the back because it's against this too. So, food for thought. Okay, you can't explain. All right. I will chew on that while, I guess we can go on a walkabout. Should we go on a walkabout? Let's go on a walkabout. All right. More steps. Oh, more machinery, more stuff. I might have too much stuff. There's the machine that's going to stitch the sheath when I get to the last part, by the way. All right. That machine is what we're about to use. Nice view of the floor for everyone. See if I can get this on a spot that works here. So this is a type of skiving machine. I'm going to make a mark on this. I'm going to do it on camera. So the reason I'm skiving this down is so it is going to lay flatter against it. So this is a lot to skive though, so I don't know. Ooh, I'm yanking stuff all over the place, people. All right. So there you'll see I skived it down, which is good. So let me see where we worked out on that now. I'm going to go on a walkabout again. That was tricky because it was so large. All right, and you can probably put down another 10 steps there, okay? Or, 30 for you. All right, that'll work. I am going to put some dye on this and a little glue. I did make a little mistake here. I cut this a little too deep, but it's going to work out. I can't explain. Right. I will have to explain via drawing later. Noted. Okay. Again, 4 humans watching. I like this. Let's take a walk. Gonna do our walkathon again here. And I am trying to get you all your steps in one shot here. Alrighty. Okay. So I want to make sure this gets colored. This is good in a way because I want to point out that I do make mistakes. If I can work around them and they're still functional, that's fine. You'll never see that. There's going to be enough stitch line there. It'll hold it, so I'm not worried about it. So that'll be good. Now I'm going to get my edge beveler out. One of the things I've learned over the years is it's a lot easier to edge bevel this now when it's straight and flat than it will be after the fact. So I'm going to grab that off my wrench. And like normal, I'm going to strap it really quick just to make sure it stays nice and sharp. That's a habit I've gotten in over the years. Let's see. Go right about there. I will end up doing this again because once I sand, it's going to change it. So but that's okay. Not going to change it a lot, so this will be good. This is a choice. I am going to do the inside here. You don't have to, because sometimes I think it looks better when it folds over that the inside wasn't done, but that's just me maybe. And then I am going to go ahead and darken this up. I'm going to take some saddle soap and go down it and burnish it a little bit with a piece of denim I've laying here. And then guess what? The exciting part is coming up again. Glue, glue, glue. That's right. We're going to glue. All right. So saddle soap, all it's really doing is bringing those fibers up, wetting them so it'd be smoothed out nice. We want a nice smooth edge on our leather work. That's a sign of quality leather work, because when you burnish your edges nice. So we definitely want to be doing that here. Don't want a raw edge. It's just one of those finishing touches that are important. There we go. Was it easy getting the ostrich leg over there? So there's a lot of steps to that. I will probably put this up live if you want to go back to, or public once it's done, this live video. It's not hard. It's just following the steps to get that inlay on there. So there's a piece of leather behind this that we cut out of here and then made it a little smaller. That got glued in there. Then the ostrich got overlaid and then cut down so it was not sticking out. Then that got glued on there, and then this piece got glued over the ostrich, so then we could stitch around it. So it's just a stepwise process, if you will. So again, I'm just kind of burnishing up these edges a little bit, making them pretty. They don't look too bad. Kind of hard to tell with that fluorescent light on, but... Oh, buying the raw material? No, actually not hard at all. They sell that lots of places. I don't remember where I bought this from exactly. I bought it on a whim. It was on sale. Might have been Springfield Leather or something like that. But yeah, no, the ostrich leg is easy to find. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might have came from a company in Africa. Okay. Let's see here. I'm looking at another one I have. Yeah, check this out. So this is a white one I have. I bought these at the same time because they were on sale. I don't know if you all can see that, but it says made in South Africa. So that's actually where it came from. So I didn't get it from South Africa. It was obviously imported here to the States. But yeah, it's ostrich is not hard to find for some reason. There's definitely other leathers that are tougher to find. I never played with it before. This is the first time I've used ostrich, I think. And, I might have used it once before. Really, Anne? Really? I'm an ostrich now? Okay, I suppose anything is possible. All right, it's my favorite time of the day again. It's glue up time. I'm going to go off camera a second. Here's one more thing I want to do. All right, back to the glue station where, yes, and we're not sniffing glue again, just to be clear. And I got my marks on there, so I know where I'm going to. All right, what are you jokers talking about now? I have to torment as often as possible. Gato, definitely, I will let you know on that one. So I can't say it's something I use a lot of. And you do not need to torment me. But you do you. Okay, we've got our glue open. Got my marks, so this is fairly easy. A little worried this is going to be floppy, but I think we'll be okay. Yeah, exciting. Gluing. Try to remain calm as we glue here. Get that out of the way. 7 people? What other people? Talk here, people. Ask me some leather questions. For gosh sakes, let's have a conversation. I don't know who these 7 people are, but they're here. Look at that. I scared 4 away just like that, down to 3. Must just be the influx in and out of people that pop on for a second. I don't know. Well, let's admit it. This is not a music. It's not a comedy show, for God's sakes. I mean, if I put myself on camera, it might be a comedy show. Inhale, no, we are not inhaling and exhaling. We are holding our breath while we glue. 100%. Okay, we're going to hammer. And I just realized what I forgot. So we're going to unglue that. I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to take care of that problem right now, because what did I forget? The thing I always forget, which is put my stamp on it. So I'm going to correct that problem right now. Off camera, of course. I can't believe I forgot it again. I'm using a hydraulic press. All right, that is more better. We have our stamp on there now, which is good. Yes, exactly. See, don't forget the stamp. I forgot the stamp. All right. So back to gluing. One benefit of it being a little tacky was it didn't have a firm set yet. As far as floppy goes, it is always a struggle with these big heavy knives, because the handle on that knife makes it tricky, to say the least. Alrighty. Going to add a little, I had a little mark on there, so I'm going to saddle soap this now just to give it a little protection and a little cleanup. And as you can see, that's darkening it, which is just fine, because that's what I want. I want it to darken up just a smidge. That'll also allow us to do the inside here a little bit. All right, that's good. Okay. Alrighty, where are we at? Let's see here. I'm going to walk that way for a second. And you're not coming along this time, I'm sorry. No steps for you. And again, stamp, thank God. But I almost messed it up. I almost forgot it. Alrighty. This is a different knife. Can't believe I'm hanging on live this long. Okay. So this is our welt. Welts are very important from a standpoint of the knife doesn't cut into your stitch lines. That's why the welts are there and why the welts are important. So yeah, that should work out just fine. I'm a little tall on this one, which is why I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to skive this down along our edges to make it a little smoother. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to skive that down. So let's see if I can do this on camera. Again, I can't stress enough how important it is to have sharp implements. I'm just going to touch this up real quick. Just drop it a little bit. Glue off to the side here. Again, I try to keep a clean work area going because if I don't, I'm going to end up knocking stuff all over God's green creation and into myself and mess up my thing and so on. Alrighty. So you probably won't be able to see what I'm doing. Maybe you can. I don't know. But I'm gonna, I'm gonna be off camera here for a second while I do this. I gotta really be able to focus in when I do this. So there you can see I skived down that edge. Going down the other part now. Again, this is just so it can lay out a little nicer when the layers are on there. That's what we're going for here. It's kind of an art all unto itself, to be honest. There's so much to learn about it. I don't know. Some days I get it right the first shot. Other times it's like a disaster. Having that little button up there makes it a little hard too because it's poking up in the air on me, but I'm making it work. Okay, there we go. All skived the way I want it. And now we're going to go towards gluing again, folks. Now I got to think a little bit about, like we talked about, I'm going to leave this. We're actually going to stop. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to stop right about there and there. I'm only going to stitch up to this point here is what we're going to end up doing. Should finish that up too. I like how you've got a random knife sat on the table. Ah, this random knife. Let's talk about that a second. You'll notice there's 3 holes there, which is supposed to be where my handle material is supposed to go. This is some kind of mystery steel that I'm not sure what it is, and I could not drill holes through this even though I didn't heat treat this. I tried to soften it or anneal it so I could drill the holes. It laughed at me. So I gave up. So what I'm hoping to do is find some way to do a leather wrap or a paracord wrap or something around it. It is heat treated. It just needs to be sharpened. But yes, I should finish this. And someday I will. It's not the only unfinished knife laying around, for the record. Some of them have issues and I just can't bear to throw them out. Here's a good example. So this one looks like it's good, right? Just needs a handle. Except for what you can't see is that it has some cracking in here. This was an old coil spring out of a car. So that never got finished. So I actually used that to open the lid on the glue. Crazy? Yes. Alrighty. Let's see here. Let's think through how this is going to go. This guy goes on this side. I think this guy goes this way. Yep. All right. So I'm going to take this up to there, and I've got to just making a mark where I want to cut this. So yeah, I'm off camera again. Okay, so let's see how we did. It's down to there. Not bad. I can live with that. All right. And now we're going to do the other side. Again, I have a mark, which you all probably can't see, but I can, and that's okay. And I'm obviously cutting it off camera. All right. This is another thing that I'm a little fussy about. I don't want this to show, so we're going to darken that. You can do it with a Q-tip after the fact. I've done that, but it's so much easier to do it right now. Then it's done and not an issue. The outside part doesn't matter because you'll never see it. All right, so again, I want to think about I'm there and I'm here. All right, so I want to score this a little bit so it takes a better, the glue tacks on a little better there, if you will. So this is actually, I believe, for this or something like it. I don't know. It works well for this, so I use it. Have that tack come out of there. That's no good. Excuse me a second. So again, all this is doing is scoring that smooth finish side of the leather. Just lets the glue bond a little better. I do the same thing on knives with 60 grit sandpaper just to score it up a little more so the epoxy attaches well. Yeah, it is a bummer, right? That knife I built years ago, it was an integral style, and I really wished it had come out because I worked a lot on that, but it's part of the journey, part of the process. For humans again. All right. Okay, we're going to go to the glue section. Let me think through this for a second. Am I forgetting anything? This is going to go on there. There's get glued. That gets stitched up. No, I think we're okay. Got the stamp on there. And we're back to the exciting part. A lot of gluing, folks. A lot of gluing. I don't know what possesses you all to follow along, but thanks for following along. I'm enjoying walking through the process, having a little company in the shop here today, so to speak. I realize I know a couple of you, but maybe I was watching. I hope you picked something up from it, or if you have any questions, put them in the thing while I'm live here. I'll try to answer them best I can anyway. There's our glue. We're looking good there. Again, the nerve-wracking part is you get this all glued up and you go to sew it. If you mess that up, you can pretty much throw the sheath across the shop and go, oh well, which is not what we want, of course. I'm sorry, I'm off camera. I'm like, over here with my glue, and not that gluing is that exciting. Again, I'm using weldwood. At least here in the States, it's easy to find. So, pretty every hardware store has it. Okay. I don't know what this knife is good for. It's silly big. Let's face it, it's not the kind of thing you carry around much. But it's fun building a sheath for it, that's for sure. Oh, good. The peanut gallery has stopped making comments. Okay, that's good. Kidding, kidding, folks, kidding. Still have 3 people hanging on. I haven't heard from Daniel lately. I wonder if he's just watching intently and taking notes. Very possible. Right. I'm going to go over this just a little more. I feel like it could just use a little more coating there. These inside pieces, I don't have to be as particular about with the glue because it's going to get sanded here in a minute. Maybe I'll take you guys on the walkabout to the big sander. Take a look at how that's done. Okay. Let's get out the heat gun. Or the fusil de chaleur. That's right, I can't speak French. I'm going to guess that's French. I have no idea why that's in French, but whatever. We got 2 humans on here. I bet you I know which 2, too. Alrighty. Okay, let's see here. Pull up my chair. This way. Alright. Which way do I want to do first? I think I want to do this one first. So I'm trying. I know I'm going to sand this edge, but I still want to line it up fairly. You don't want big gaps in or out. Plus, it matters where your knife hits in here, so you want to make sure you're lining that up fairly well. So I did sight down that as I went, made sure I was good. And now we're going to do this side. Sorry for my head again if it's in the way. Again, we're fairly uniform out here, which is good. We can even check this a little bit. Just see. Oh, helps if I put the knife the right way. And as you can see, that's hitting where it should be. Probably a little more gap than needs to be there, but that's all right. I'm actually going to just, because of that, I'm going to adjust this over just a little bit. I don't know if you all can see it. There is a little more meat here than there should be. So I'm just going to, since I left the glue a little tacky, I can get away with moving this just a wee bit here. Yep, that makes a little nicer fit there now. Okay. All right. So again, we will use our hammer. And now we will move over to the last part here. Well, not the last part, but this part. Let's see where this is going to hit. Now I'm going to make a mark. Again, we're leaving that last part open up there. Grab my pen. So there's our marks on the inside. We're going to flip this guy over. More glue, people, more glue. 5 people, 5 humans. Hey, if anybody just joined us, you're watching along. We're building a leather sheath here for this particular knife. Doing some inlay work and some overlay work, and we're in the home stretches here. So almost there. Right now we're going to add some glue. So, if you got any questions, put it there in the chat. I'll try to answer when I have time to look. But we are just gluing this bad boy up right now. If nothing else, I hope everybody starts to realize there is such a process to making these. To fit them to the knife and to make sure they fit well. There's a lot of little steps in making a custom sheath, and I think a lot of folks don't realize how much gets done this way. So if nothing else, maybe this helps shine some light on that a little bit or give you a sense of it. I'm not going to say it's a hard process, but it's definitely a process and it's a learning curve. More importantly, it's fun. Move the knife out of the way there before I do something dumb like cut myself. Again, this is just good old contact cement, weldwood from the hardware store. They make lots of others out there. Barge is a common leatherworker one. I've never personally used it because, I don't know, when I started using this and it's always worked well for me. So, plus for me, I can't run down to the store and buy barge. I would have to have it shipped because I don't have any stores close by that sell barge. So. And there's others. There's water-based ones. I don't know. There's quite a few out there if you start looking around. I'm sure there's pluses and minuses with all of them. Okay, looking pretty good here. Like we're at, let's see, any comments? There's one. Is there such a thing as a soft hand veg tan? I'm new to leatherwork. I'm trying to make some soccer ball panels and the veg tan. So Daniel Brown, yes. I don't know if you're still watching. I hope you are. I just saw your comment. Most veg tan you find is stiff, to my knowledge, but I don't have a clue what they make soccer balls out of. I would think chrome tan leather, which is more like upholstery leather, is more soft and supple, but that might be too hard. I wish I could help you on a soccer ball. I'll tell you, that's a very adventurous process to do. The only other thing with the veg tan, I don't think veg tan can be wet molded, but I wouldn't think they wet mold that. I wish I had some better guidance for this. That's an interesting project, but if it's not a usable soccer ball, like it's more just for show, you might do better with some chrome tan. This is chrome tan. You can see it's very much more, it's not as stiff, very pliable. So that might be a better direction to go, possibly. But I'm not sure, to be honest. But thanks for joining me. All right. What do we think, folks? Heat gun time? I think it's heat gun time. Close up that glue. Yeah, so Daniel, if you've used the chrome tan before, again, the soccer ball thing is what's throwing me here. I don't know if they make any veg tan that's soft. I think it has to do with the process of how it's made, is why it gets a little stiffer. You know, like this has some softness to it, but it's stiff. It's a veg tan. So. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool you're making soccer balls. That's something I wouldn't have. I don't know how to try that, to be honest. That sounds like a lot. I'm thinking about how you stitch that. That's got to be. Yeah, that's got to be a lot to stitch that. All right, let's glue this bad boy up and see where we're at. Might be off camera here, folks. My apologies. Again, I want to get this as close as I can. Well, I'm probably off camera at the moment. That way I don't have as much cutting or sanding to do. And again, the reason I'm tapping it down is that sets that. And it's going to get stitched there very shortly. All right, so there we go. Yeah, we're in pretty good shape here. We got quite a bit to cut off this one side, looks like. This side here sits out quite a ways. I am going to try something right now, which I don't normally do, but I want to see. All right, so I think we're okay. One of the things is fitting this down in there. That stitch line is going to come right to here. So make sure that's where it is. So I think that'll work. Okay. All right. I've used chrome tan. The last panel is not a lot of fun, but the rest isn't bad using a saddle stitch while it is inside out. Yeah, I can understand that. But that, wow, if you are hand stitching that whole thing, that is a lot. There's a reason I bought machines over the years, because I got tired of hand stitching, to be honest. But I can understand. It could be a very meditative process. That could be a good thing too. I like it. All right, let's see here. I'm going to take you guys on a walkabout again here. We're going to go over to the sanding machine, and I'm going to sand this down. It might be a little loud, I don't know, but let's see what we can figure out here. Let me see if I get an angle on the camera to make it work. Here we go. We're on our walkabout. Oh, this is way back when I split this leather. I did it on this machine here. And we're going to wander over this way. We're going to ignore that ugly chair that I haven't finished. And we're going to go right down here on the floor. That's a good view, right, everybody? Let's see here. Do some adjusting. This is actually a shoe finishing machine. It's originally was designed for shoes. That's really what it was for. But I'm going to use it to sand here. So apologies if this is loud. I don't know it will be, but we're going to give this a shot. Down there is the back. taking a little walkabout here. Weaving our way through the shop. Okay. Alrighty. So there's where we're at right now. Our sides are now smoothed and uniform. We look pretty good distance-wise here. I might go back or just do a little more down this stretch. If you look, a little wider down here. So I'm going to just go back quick and tuck that off. Be right back, people. Keeping that uniform is important. I like to, again, I don't want anybody's eyes to go on the wrong. And it's time to put some stitch lines in there. And what I mean by stitch lines is something I want to follow. So I know that I'm going to stitch this up to right there and there. And I want to be about in the center of this. So our weld is in there. And our weld is about the width of that. So basically half of that is what I'm going to go for. So it's about a ½ inch. So roughly a ¼ inch. So I'm going to set my wing divider here to just a little more than a ¼ inch because I'll be on an angle. So sometimes I just kind of wing this to like where I want to be, which actually that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to come down this here like that. And same on this side. Now, the only bummer I tried to figure out was getting that stitch line to hit right there and right there, which it's not going to. But we're going to live with that. It's going to be what it's going to be there. So I could go out a little more. I feel like that's pretty far out, though. Let me just see what that looks like. Yeah, that's pretty far out. I don't love that. All right, let's go on a walkabout. I can't believe I've been doing this live for 3 hours now, but that's okie dokie. Alrighty, we're gonna come on over this way. Gonna go over to Big Blue, or the Blue Sewing Machine, or the Blue Monster, or whatever you want to call this guy. Let's get you guys set up here. We're gonna try to set this up so you can see when I sew. Alrighty. Just give you guys some sense of what I'm doing. It isn't going to be perfect, but I'll give you an idea. This is a needle awl machine. I think I might want to change my thread. So this bobbin's getting pretty light. I really don't want to have to resew this, so we're going to handle that. So I got to unscrew this guy. I should be talking, shouldn't I? 7 people? Geez, 7 whole people. Wow, there is a scared 4 away again. I'm good at scaring people, folks. Danny Brown, I don't know if you're still listening. What else do you make other than soccer balls? Is there anything else you're into with leatherwork? I'd be curious to hear what else you've tried or what you're into or what brought you to leather. For me, it was knives. That's what got me here originally. Because I needed sheaths. And then, frankly, it's gotten away from me from there and became an entire thing. That's not a complaint, by the way. Alrighty. Let's see here. All right, I've got my bobbin wound in there. And now we're going to screw this back in place, get this set so we can get past the boring part here, stitch this sucker up so you guys can see it. What I'm doing is getting it, there's a spring in there it has to get behind, so that's what I'm doing right now. And I will run a test piece through this also because I really don't want to test it on what we've been working on for the past 3+ hours. That would not be good, folks. Almost, I'm trying to, there it is. So the biggest thing is it's got to be behind that spring there. There we go. It's behind the spring. All right, let's see. Okay. That's it right now. Like I said, I'm just starting out. Starting out's okay. Belts. Let's talk belts. I hear a lot of folks run towards the belt, and I'm not saying don't, by the way. There's a lot to a belt. You got to be able to skive the ends off. There's a skill set in there. Making sure everything sits flat, getting your either your Chicago screws or depending on what kind of snap you want in there. People use different snaps. So there's a lot of little things to think of there. The other thing is they're long, so it's easy to mess up when you're doing certain things. But by all means, go for it. Give it a shot. Also depends what you're going to do on the belt. If you're going to do tooling work or carving work, guessing since you're starting out, you're probably not at that point yet, which is just fine. So, all right, let's get this threaded here instead of me talking about belts. I think it's great you're starting out. There's so many little things to do, so many things to learn, so many fun things to try. And it's the kind of thing that it never ends. It really never ends. You're always learning. You're always improving. Even if you're doing simple things like a keychain or something. I mean, it's all very doable. Okay. So again, let's take a piece of scrap here, see what we can get. And I'm just gonna all right, let's see how we did here. Everything seemed pretty good to me, but we're gonna see. Oh, I broke the thread. That happens. That was my fault though, because I didn't have it in the right position. All right. Okay, yeah, our backside looks good there. This is our front side, so I am comfortable with that. I do need to fix this problem though, because I did not have that in the right position to try to pull that through. So that would be the position I needed to be in, which I was not. Okay. Try not to leave my whole head in there, folks. All right. Extra thread? Anybody need some extra thread? Okay, let's see if we can get this done here. I may be blocking a lot of this shot. Again, you could hand stitch these by punching all the holes with an awl or pricking irons. There it is. Daniel, earlier, pricking irons, I think, is what I was trying to say. Me personally, I have this machine, so I use this machine because I have it. So, all right, let's gonna lift our foot up here. My head may be in the way. My apologies. And we're gonna come bring this down. Yep. All righty, here we go, folks. Cross your fingers. Wish me luck. Say a prayer or two. You'll notice I'm trying to go slow intentionally. I want to make sure I don't miss any stitches. I don't want to get off my stitch line that I made because I want it to look good. So I am taking my time here. Again, this is a clutch motor. If I really push the pedal down on this machine and push that clutch together, it would zip right along at a speed that would, frankly, speed I can't comprehend and do. But it goes very quick if you want it to. I just try to keep it slow and just work my way in. We're getting there, everybody. Now, this I want to see. I don't want to cut that black thread if I can help it. So I'm just gonna back it up just a little there. That way I jump over that black thread. That way it's never going to be an issue. Again, because this is not a single needle machine, it's a double, it's a needle and an awl. That awl would slice right through that black thread if I continued that spot. Okay. Now I'm going to make the turn here as we're at that point. And again, we're going to watch to make sure that we're, that's a spot that sometimes the stitch might get skipped, but it didn't. Same thing, I'm going to watch my stitches when I get up to this spot. This time we look pretty good. Should jump right over it. We did. That's great. Just because I didn't want to cut that black stitch line, that's all. All right, we're in our home stretch here. Again, I'm following the line I made, which will make for a nice uniform stitching in my opinion. Again, so important you let the machine advance the leather and not you, so you don't mess your stitches up. It's a mistake I've made by just pushing in a direction I didn't even realize I was pushing in. So again, I'm looking to see where I'm finishing here. Okay, now all right, this time I'm going to make sure I get this right for pulling the thread because I don't want it to break. There we go. And we're going to shut this down. Going to snippy. Yeah, any comments there, I'll look at a second. All right, there it is. We are stitched all the way around. Now, I am going to backstitch by hand up here because with the needle awl machine, it can break. So I'm going to walk over. We're going to take you guys on a walkabout. We're going to backstitch that. Then we've got to color this black. If I'm happy with where this is at, I won't need to sand it again. And actually, it seems pretty good. So I may just end up edging this, blackening our edges. I did get a little schmutz on the natural leather. It's not too bad, but I do kind of like the 3 colors. I don't know. What do you all think? Is the 3 colors working on this? I think it's okay. All right, off we go over to the tooling bench where I'm going to hand stitch this the last little bit and fix that up. Let's see here. Let me get my camera adjusted here. Gonna stick this. Alrighty. All right, Daniel, let's see here. I think that's why I want to try it, because of all the little things it takes to get that I'm learning. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm not trying to shy you off of doing a belt at all. You learn a lot doing it, no question. Again, there's about 1 million tutorials out there that you can find online about how to do a belt. As you probably already know, you can buy a belt blank, which is a lot easier than, say, buying a whole side and cutting it yourself. I'm at a point where I have sides of leather, so if I need to cut a belt down, I just cut it out of the side. But if I was in a position I don't want to spend the $200+ for a side of leather, I'd probably buy a belt blank personally. Alrighty, I need my needles. Got my needles. And my needle threader, because that makes life easy. I want to be clear that the way I do things is just the way I've learned over the years. There's other ways to do it. I'm always open to that. I will say that some of the things I've learned the hard way, and it makes sense. Other things I'm still learning. So don't take anything I say as gospel ever, because it's not. I just keep learning as I go here, folks. So you'll notice I'm going through quite a few layers of leather here, so pliers tend to help me. And again, as Dan, you were saying, this is definitely a saddle stitch situation with this part. I'm just going back and forth. I'm going to go down about 3, I think, and call it plenty. So there's 2. Or excuse me, there's 1. Here's our second hole. Part of the reason I like to use the machine anymore is this is hard on my hands. Still do it from time to time on certain things, but anymore, most things I do machine. So I know there's a lot of debate in the leather world about which is better. Personally, I don't know if there's a better. I think both work. I think it's just being honest with your methods and letting your customers know what you did. I know for my clients, my customers, I will tell them I will hand stitch, but it comes at a cost. For me to hand stitch something like this would have taken probably an hour. You folks were with me. It took, what, a few minutes maybe? I don't know. It wasn't long to stitch on the machine. Other than this little bit of back stitching, not bad at all. So there is that there. That's nice and tight. Let me clip this guy off on this side. We're going to call this side done. And the back side also done. I do like to make sure those are tucked in. You probably can't see it on the camera. But I don't want to have those sticking out in space. Sometimes I'll put a drop of glue on there too, just to make sure. But never really had any problems with that. So, all right, let's do the other side here. Off camera just a second to get something. I'm gonna need a minute. All right. Hopefully we're back on camera now. I'm gonna poke my head in here. I just want to bit glue in there. I don't like that. That's all right. We got it. Just cleaning up some things from earlier that I forgot to do. Not a biggie. Just smoothing some stuff out there. Okay. All right. Let's get the other side here. Again, thank you folks for sticking in here and watching what's going on. This is, again, just me making a sheath for a knife. If you follow my YouTube channel, or if you'd like to, I had built 10 knives in 10 shop days. This is the last one that's getting a sheath. So, it's been a fun little adventure. All different types, all different styles. But there's a bunch of videos on there about it if you're interested. Biggest thing is I'm making sure I go through the same holes. Now I went back and forth on those. You can cheat this, so to speak. It's not even cheating. As long as you're pulling these tight. Sometimes I will go to the next hole down and just work my way through that one. And then the next one, and then do the other one. So see that? Coming back through the next one. Pulling it tight. And I pulled it right on out of the thread or the needle. So we'll just rethread that quick. I can be a bit heavy-handed at times. And number 3. Some people say this isn't as good when you do it like this, but for a back stitch, I don't know if it really matters. I don't know if I'd go the whole way. I tend to saddle stitch it traditionally, you know, one down to one side, one down the other side, back and forth when I do hand stitching. Very satisfying to come down the home stretch of these guys. Probably saw me flying things off my bench. And we'll thread the needle one more time because I'm yanking things around. Anybody's wondering, these are just a cheap pair of Harbor Freight pliers. Here in the States, you're probably familiar with Harbor Freight. Alright, nice and tight there. Get out our scissors, clip this off. Flip off the other side. Good. Alright. So I'm just taking a look down my edges here. They're not too bad. I am going to go off camera a minute with your guys' permission. Well, I guess I don't need your permission. I can just go off camera. What are you going to do? But I'm going to wander over and check that out. So let's see what I can do here. I'll be right back. I'll try to keep talking while I smooth these edges. Okay. So I'm back. Got it nice and sand off the edges. I am now going to take an edge beveler here and bevel around the edges just to get that all nice and cleaned up and done. This is a number 5, if anybody's wondering, for the deeper parts there. The only thing I'm watching is that thread there, so I don't mess that up. I definitely don't want to do that. I do strop these pretty regular just to make sure they stay sharp. Very important. I used to not do that. That was not good. These edges up here I tried to do beforehand, but I had to sand some off of that. So unfortunately, got to kind of try to edge bevel around this here. There we go. And now down our back side. It's a little tricky when you first start doing that to get it just to flow well, but once you got a feel for it, it's not too bad. Just a matter of getting your angles right, both this way and this way. I'm gonna go off camera here. I'm just gonna lay this on the side so I'm not hitting that Sam Brown stud or that stud that's in there. Make my life a little easier. Okay. I hope I'm on camera. I can't tell because the camera's above me. All right, so our edges are nice and beveled now. Got to add some darkness to it. So again, I'm just going to touch this up real quick before I put it away. I try to get in the habit of doing that. This has some green compound on it, and I'll probably do to put a little more on there. All right. Shall we walk about, folks? Probably pretty close to wrapping this live up. I'm going to put some stuff on the edge of that, do a little burnishing, show you it fits, and then the last part I'll probably do off camera. I'm not sure yet, though. But what an odyssey, huh? Been live now for almost 3.5 hours. It's definitely a different thing. I kind of like it. All right, let's put our glue away. We are done with our glue. Definitely don't need that anymore. All right, that's away. And I love these little dabbers, or whatever you want to call them. They're from Maker Leather Supply. I'm not affiliated with them, but you press this down and more of the stuff comes out, so it makes it really easy for doing things like edges. See how easy that goes on there? Really love that. I used to do this with a Q-tip or a dabber, but dabbers would get away from me. And then I'd have dye in places I don't want dye. So I stumbled on these one night, and I think they were like $8 per. And I have never looked back. And if I need more, I would definitely buy more. Right now I use a dark brown and a black, and that does 99% of what I do, 90%, I don't know. They're also kind of beveled there, it makes it easy. Just gotta remember to keep it filled. That's the main thing. Alrighty. There's our backside look here. Angle that up, get a little more of that backside. Let's do this side. All right, there we go. And now I'm going to get out my saddle soap. There's lots of options for this. Can definitely start an internet fight about this stuff, but burnishing, that is. I'm just going to use some saddle soap here, go down this, get this nice and saddled up. I am happy with how this has come out overall. I think it's got a nice look to it, sheath-wise. a lot of thought process into this guy about how it ended up and, you know, which directions to go and different things. So, but I am happy with it. Coming in the home stretch here, folks. I do have to make a strap to go around it, but I will do that off the live because it's pretty boring to watch. But I'll do a short about it. And we're just going to smooth these edges out a little bit. Or burnish it as you will. There we be. We got ourselves a sheath. How about that? So, a little finish work to go yet. Probably burnish those edges just a little more, but let's see if this guy fits. Assuming we did everything correctly, it should fit very nicely. Does look like it will. Now remember, it's floppy, but it'll be against your leg. So that's all right. And I am happy with how this hits here, leaving that open. You can see that. I even like our color work there. I think it's a stylish little package. I'm happy with it. So the only thing left I have to do here is I need to make, I don't know what they're called. Basically, it's just going to be, I'm off camera because I'm looking for a piece of leather to show you all what I'm dealing with. Here's a little scrap piece of leather. I'll give you the concept. But this button here, basically to hold this in the sheath, this will have a strap of leather behind it here. It'll get a slit there and go over it. One will stay on there permanently. The other one will sit on there like that. So they'll sit there to hold that in its sheath. And then if you want to take it off, you just pop one off and rotate it around. But that's it. That's all that really does. So that's all I have left to make yet, and I'm going to do that off camera. Thanks for joining me. It looks like there's 3 of you stuck around, 3 left. I hope you got something out of this. I enjoyed doing it. Just invite you into the shop for today and seeing what we're doing. So hope you all have a good Monday and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, folks.